It's February 23rd. It's the afternoon of day 23 million of the Alec Murdaugh double homicide trial. The defendant is on the stand on direct examination with his lawyer, Jim Griffin. This morning, we saw an entire range of emotions from this defendant. Some in the chat believed them, some didn't. It seems very evenly split at this point on how his testimony is being received. We'll continue to see how it goes. When we have 60,000 people in the chat, we have a very large sample size of how people are responding to his testimony. The one thing that I think we all agreed on is he got real pissed real fast when talking about SLED and the AG's office not caring about his clothes when they thought he was wearing the white shirt the night of the murders. He did say that he got blood on him, on his fingers when he was touching the bodies, but we've not seen blood on his white shirt at all. So where did the blood from his fingers go? He testified that he was with his family all the way through after these murders, and they've gone kind of at length to say he's gone through, or they went at length to say where he was and who he was with, to kind of give the impression, I think, that he wasn't ever alone enough to hide any of the evidence, to hide the weapons, to hide the clothes. But the lingering questions remain. He lied to law enforcement. He said it's because he didn't trust SLED. The clothes seem to be missing, but he says he's got clothes everywhere. The guns used seem to be family guns, but they're questioning the science and don't really have an answer for that. And we will see if it's enough or not. So with all of that, we will see. Oh, yeah, and then there's the pesky matter that Blanca and Miss Shelley both say that he asked them to remember things in a way that would be beneficial for him. We haven't addressed that yet, but we are just getting back into court this afternoon. When we bring the jury, we'll roll the intro. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a law nerd. Just a reminder, Alec Murdaugh is innocent until proven guilty. He still has the presumption of innocence on his side. Even if we don't believe him, he is still presumed innocent until the end of this case. It's okay to not know what to think. I don't think this case is clear-cut at all. And it's okay to go this and this and this and this and this. But others are going to have varying and different opinions. So I am not voting on where we think this jury will come down. Because again, whether the state proved it or not is a different question truly than if you think he did it or not.
Bring the jury.
Oh, okay, Your Honor, we're bringing the jury. Let's go. We're going to go. Law nerds, thank you for being here. Do the YouTube-y things. And I think, here's my prediction. The defense is going to drag out direct until they get to the afternoon break for the day, so that cross-examination starts tomorrow morning. Or is forced to start very late in the day. I don't think they want to start cross early in today, but we'll see. Let's go. Hey there, I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst, breaking down the legal side of the pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. I'm a big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years, but this is not legal advice. This is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not... Let's get into it. I'm absolutely dancing that the YouTube notifications worked. Thank you. We will switch streams to get to captions in a little bit. I have found that some of the streams don't cut away from their own commentary, as is their right. Y'all love the commentary. Don't cut away from the commentary right at the beginning. So we will switch between the streams. The audio on the Law and Crime stream kills me. It's the audio. They have the audio gained up so much that we pick up a lot more background noise than other audio, but also then they're out of sync. Let's see if they're in sync enough that we can use the other audio and this feed.
All right, thank you. You may proceed.
Nope. Let's see if we can do it. If the audio is too out of sync, I'll have to switch it. Angela, the prosecutors won't ask such an open-ended question on cross. It's going to be very tight questions. Let's see if we can keep this in sync.
June the 7th.
Again?
2021, and you're meeting with Jean Seckinger?
Yes.
Do you remember meeting Ms. Seckinger?
I do.
And what was the meeting about?
Oh, no. Too bad.
Jeannie came up to me and asked me previously, Annette Griswold had come to me and asked me about the fee check in the Ferris case. And Jeannie was coming to me and saying
All right.
that she was
The
following up on
confrontation at
that.
work.
If she didn't, she wouldn't be doing her job, and asked me some questions,
Well, let me ask you
which I understood.
briefly, the Ferris fee? what-
He's completely
what
facing the
originally
jury
happened to it?
at this point.
PMPED portion of the Ferris fee?
I mean, originally,
Yes, sir. Did it come to you directly?
yes,
Should have come to you directly.
no.
Did,
For all the new
when
law
Ms.
nerds
Seconder
here,
asked you
we
about
do not
the-
name call in this chat, so thank you for adhering
Where
to
the
the chat
fee
rules. It
was,
keeps
what'd you
our
tell her?
chat the best chat on the internet.
I can't remember exactly what I told her. The conversation got interrupted very quickly, but I told Jeannie that the funds were in Chris Wilson's account, and
And
nothing
that
to
was a
worry
lie.
about. I didn't know where the mix-up came from.
And that was a lie.
What was your level of concern about?
And that
Ms.
was a
Seconder's
lie.
inquiry to you on June the 7th?
Oh, he wasn't worried about the money?
There was some level of concern, because she's asking me about money that I took that I wasn't supposed to have. So certainly, I had some level of concern, but it wasn't a very big concern. As you heard testimony earlier,
So weird.
at some point, Annette Griswold had sent Chris Wilson an email, something to the effect of,
Yes, the law and
Alec
crime
thinks he
feed
has
is
more
busy.
expenses, or something like that.
Oh, yes, Bella.
Seeking
You may scream at your TV
financial
all you like.
documents from Chris Wilson. When Chris Wilson got, I wasn't copied on that, but when Chris Wilson got that, Chris Wilson called me up, and he's like, you know.
Oh, no, he said he stole.
What is this all about?
What?
Pardon?
I said objection, rules 801 and 802, Your Honor.
Oh, Rule 801 and 802.
Response?
Your Honor, I'm not asking for what Chris Wilson said, and I'll move on. I accept the objection.
He's like, I accept the
Were
objection.
you concerned about Chris Wilson
Thanks, Jim.
opening his trust account records to,
They're trying to be
Your law
careful
firm.
with the
No, I
hearsay.
was not concerned about that at all.
and why were you not concerned?
I knew that one of the people that Chris Wilson, as you heard, Chris Wilson and I were very close. We talked every day. I did work with him all the time. And, I mean, he was one of the people closest to me in the whole world.
And you stole from him.
I knew everything about him. And
He thought he knew everything
I
about
knew he
you.
was going through, one of his partners, and he and his partner had split up. A partner and an associate had moved to a firm in Charleston.
That would have been stressful.
The partner was going through a divorce, and the wife of the partner was trying to get Chris Wilson's trust documents in that case to find out money her husband got. It didn't have anything to do with Chris and I, or anything. It totally had to do with that. But I knew that Chris Wilson was not going to send any financial documents to my law firm,
Because of that?
at least at that time, and at least not anytime soon. So while I'm sure it registered with me that I got to
confident.
deal with this, at that particular time, it wasn't anything that was
That's
a big deal.
a good explanation.
Was there an immediate urgency to the
No
situation on June the
pressure,
7th?
no
No.
stress.
And I believe there's, Ms. Seconder testified about your conversation with her. You learned that your dad was going back in the hospital.
That's correct. There was a text. I can't remember if that text came from my brother Randy.
No,
or
he
my
was only
brother
paranoid
John.
sometimes.
They were the ones that were taking my dad back to the hospital that day. And whichever one was with him, I believe it's John was with him at the hospital, but I know Randy was with him at some treatments. It's in those documents. But bottom line is, we got a text saying, we knew my dad was really sick. He had cancer and he couldn't breathe. And there was a big issue about whether his inability to breathe was coming from an obstruction caused by the cancer, which was the worst case scenario, and that's what it ended up being ultimately, and that's what he died from. But this particular text was saying, okay, we're putting him back in the hospital. The doctor thinks it's pneumonia, and which was, you know, I mean, pneumonia's never a good thing, but when compared to cancer, at that time, pneumonia, that was a good thing, to learn that.
So on the 7th, where the information you had, were you believe at that time that the prognosis was pretty positive for your father?
Well, it was better than the alternative. I'm not gonna say it was good, but it was better than the alternative and what we had previously thought it was. It didn't stay good very long, but it definitely was
I
better.
think he didn't
Do
think
you,
he would get in
know
trouble
whether or
for it,
not
though.
You
I
told
don't-
Ms. Seconder that
I think it's reasonable.
your dad's condition was terminal on the 7th. Do you remember whether you said that or not?
No, I wouldn't have said that at that time.
I think he thought,
And what
Everything
I
else
s-
goes
you
away.
know,
That's the defense's
Jeannie,
argument.
As soon as the thing
Everything
comes
else is
through
going
that my
away.
dad's going in the hospital, Jeannie and I, as you heard, I
That's
mean, she
true. Jeannie
stopped the
said
meeting.
hospice.
We stopped it. It lasted a couple minutes. Now, my dad's going in the hospital, and the very next day, we learned that he's terminal. And I'm just sure that a
Jeannie
year
said it was
or-
on the
or amount
7th.
of time that's gone by, Jeannie assumed she was terminal. He was terminal.
Speculation, Your Honor.
Objection's overruled.
no, I do. I'll talk about it at the
Murdough,
break.
the,
I can see the argument for it. Honestly, I can see the argument. He's gotten away with everything his whole life. I can
On
see the
June
argument for
7th,
he's
did
gotten
you
away
believe
with
that your
everything, so it
financial
wasn't really
house of
crashing
cards
down because he
was
thought
about
he could
trouble?
still get away with it. I can see the argument.
On June
Court TV
7th?
confirmed John Grisham is really there.
Absolutely not.
Had you had, and I think there's documented evidence, state introduced, had you had reached out to
Oh, John
Russell
Grisham's totally
Laffitte at
writing
Palmetto
about
State
this.
Bank about extending a line of credit on the Moselle property?
Yeah, I had reached out to him. I can't remember the date of that text, but it was fairly recently. I had reached out to Russell.
And on June 7th, did you have equity in the Moselle property that
Nope.
you and Maggie had equity in that Moselle property?
Sure. And, I mean, Moselle
Sure.
was fully in Maggie's name.
Okay.
But yes, there was equity in Moselle.
Really?
In looking at the documents that had been used, there was $1,800,000 owed. There was an appraisal for $3.3 million without timber value. And so on 1,700 acres, I don't know what the timber value was, but if you just set $1,000 an acre.
timber
that'd be
value.
another million-something dollars in value over and above the appraisal. I doubt the timber value was that high. I'm just using that as an example, but if it was 500, it'd be another $800,000. So, there was several $1 million in equity in that Moselle property.
All right, and did you have equity in the Edisto Beach House?
Yes.
And around June 7th, how much equity did you have in the Edisto Beach House?
If I remember the records correctly, there was about $250,000 owed on that house, and whatever the value was at the time, I think there's a contract for just under $1 million, so 700 and something thousand dollars.
Did Maggie's death make it more difficult to obtain financing immediately after the murder, around June 7th, 8th?
You were trying to
Maggie's-
get financing June 7th, I think?
Yes,
How so?
because the entire Moselle property was 100% in Maggie's name.
So you have to probate it?
The Edisto property was 50% in Maggie's name, so I was only a half owner. So with Maggie, all I had to do was get her to sign the documents, which she always did. I mean, she didn't question finances, so, I mean, she signed the papers. When Maggie wasn't here, there was the state issues. I couldn't go and sign the papers like I would normally go and get a loan. So I couldn't.
You got loans without paper, though.
Was there a hearing scheduled in the boating lawsuit where you were a defendant set for that week?
Yes.
Do you remember what day it was scheduled for?
Well, I mean, I've heard the testimony, and I'm sure I knew at the time it's June the 10th, Thursday, June the 10th.
What was your level of concern about that hearing coming up on June the 10th?
About that hearing,
Yes, sir.
my level of concern about that hearing was about the venue motion that was coming up, which,
Now, what do you mean by venue?
the venue motion is, venue is where a civil lawsuit is pending.
He's so much
And
happier talking about
so
not
There's
the day of the
laws
murders.
and rules that govern where you can bring a case. There's laws and rules that govern how certain parties, a defendant or a plaintiff, can go about trying to move it from one place to another. So in this case, the plaintiffs, the Beach family, had filed suit in Hampton County. Parker's was trying to move venue to Beaufort County. And I wanted the case to stay in Hampton County. And really, that was my only thought about, I wasn't doing the legal work on those. I was a party in that case. I wasn't. I mean, Danny Henderson was primarily representing me personally. John Tiller and Amy Bauer were representing me personally. And Dawes Cook was representing me personally. And those are the guys that were doing the legal work. So, you know, I wasn't actually doing that work, but what I was concerned about was the venue motion. I had already done what I had to do for the financial motion, and Danny Henderson was on me about getting him a financial statement because,
Let's stop. So there was a motion to compel and seek a lot of financial records from you, was that correct?
absolutely,
And were you concerned that your house, financial house, was going to be opened up for the world as a result of that hearing?
because you were moving
No.
money into Maggie's
I've
name.
been
Weren't you worried a
plaintiff's
bit?
lawyer, like Mr. Tinsley that sat here. We do the same exact thing. In my law firm, the guys in my law firm are some of the best lawyers that I've ever known. And they're definitely some of the best lawyers in the state, handling some of the biggest cases that have ever gone on in this state.
He's
In my
connected to
27
everybody.
years of practicing, plaintiffs always are trying to look and get financial documents of corporate defendants.
Because that's what you did.
of, You know,
Yeah, true. Not
those
his law
type
firm
things.
anymore.
In my 27 years,
right,
I've
Chad.
never been able to get a judge to order anything more than a net worth statement prior to getting into a phase at trial. So early on in the case, I am not aware of, I personally have never, despite trying repeatedly, have never been able to get a judge to order the kind of information that Mark Tinsley was saying he was seeking.
Were you working on a document for that upcoming hearing?
Yes,
And what was that?
a financial statement. A financial statement lists your assets in your
That's true. All of the
liabilities.
throat
And then you
grunting
reached
has
out
stopped
to,
in this point.
Jeannie Seconder later that
It's a very,
day on the 7th to
very
get your current balance of your retirement account.
clear.
You know, I don't
difference.
remember doing that, but that'd certainly be something that I did, and, because I know I'd have to have that for that financial statement. And the document that I prepared was what Mark Ball talked about that he found later in my office. And it was tight, it was handwritten, ready to be
It was
typed
tight?
up by, you know,
It was ready. He was ready to go?
because of the charges against Paul, I kept everything very close in the civil case. It was Danny in his office, it was doing it, and I had that document prepared, handwritten in the neatest handwriting that I could make, because a secretary other than mine, or paralegal other than mine, was gonna be the person who was gonna put that financial information into the final document. And that's the document that Mark Ball talked about that he found on my desk whenever it was that he found it. So that was what was going to be, if necessary, what was going to be used Thursday.
Alex, jury's heard about testimony of you stealing client funds. Did you do that?
I did.
Did you
He
steal
admits to the stealing. He has to.
or divert that Ferris fee away from the law firm?
I did.
He has no other choice in this. They just have to try to hit it and distance
How
it.
did you get in such a financial predicament?
Yeah. Good question.
Led you to steal money that wasn't yours?
Millions. Steal millions.
I'm not quite sure how I let myself get where I got, but it came from, I battled that addiction for so many years. I was spending so much money on pills. I got in a spot I couldn't.
Millions?
Now, what type of addiction are you
Millions.
referring
My addiction is to opiate painkillers,
to? And when did you,
specifically oxycodone, OxyContin.
and when did you first become dependent or addicted to opioids?
Oxycodone or opiates in general.
Opiates in
What?
general?
I'm not
I like that
quite
he's being
sure
real
of the
specific.
exact date, but I can give you a time frame. I hurt my knee really bad
gonna
playing
say
football in college.
medical
and I
injury.
had a knee surgery. And the medical science at the time was such that the surgery didn't work, bottom line. So
The medical science at the time? It's not the
it just didn't
1900s,
last. So
Alec.
within a couple of years of that.
You didn't have
I
knee
started
surgery in
having
1910.
A lot of knee troubles. And ultimately, I had to have a couple of surgeries, but the last surgery I had was, I think, around 2002 or 4. And I think it was around 4, so I would have started taking hydrocodone a couple of years before that. And I took hydrocodone, got addicted to that very quickly. I
Jim,
continued taking that
Ask him
for
how constipated
a
he
long
was.
time.
I got questions.
I'd force myself off of it, wean myself off of it, I'd go back to it. I battled that for a long time, and after a while, I was taking so much of that, I moved on to
Oh.
oxycodone. And, I'm guessing that was around 2000, that transition was around 2008, 9, something like that. And of course, it just escalates and escalates and escalates. And
Did you receive treatment or go to detox on occasion?
I did.
How many times?
I mean,
That
I will
went
say
to
knee
detox,
pain
or that I
sucks.
detoxed.
Well,
I had knee surgery in
let's start with
2007 and
going
it
to a
sucked.
detox facility.
The surgery worked, but
I've
the
been to a
recovery
detox
sucked.
facility 3 times.
And when was the first time?
So you went to rehab 3 times?
December of 2017.
Is there a difference between detox and rehab, Chet? I don't know.
And before December 2017, had you tried to detox at home?
I tried to detox everywhere I could.
When you,
Maggie would help me. Go ahead.
yeah, when you
Thank you all.
when you went
Chet's like,
in,
there's absolutely a difference.
was it inpatient facility?
The detoxes, the formal detoxes that I
Yeah,
went to?
in December 2017.
Yes, it was it was inpatient. And all 3 formal detoxes that I've done have been at the same facility called Sunrise Detox in Atlanta, Georgia.
And
Very good
is
facility.
jury's heard a audio
John
tape of
Grisham.
a telephone conference with SLED agents. Is
We
that
heard
where
a
you
lot
were
about
during that
detox
meeting with
from,
Mr. Harpootlian and I?
That's correct.
Johnny Depp.
The first time you went to the detox in Atlanta, how long of a
Thank you,
stay
Ebony.
is that? Did you stay?
7 days is the opiate detox program.
7.
And is there a difference between detox and rehab?
Hey, thanks, Jim.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Detox is it's the act of getting the drugs out of your system, getting to the point where, okay, there is no longer a physical dependency, all right? And that's a big difference than the rest of the dependency, but the physical dependency
Wasn't
is supposed to be gone after 7 days. So in other words, there's so many things. Opiate withdrawal is,
we're just thinking the same things, me and Jim, right now.
it's hard.
It's the natural next question. That's all. Whoever that is
But
with the head on the
supposedly at
shoulder is
end of
not
7
buying any of
days,
this.
You don't have those physical symptoms like, I don't want to be too graphic, but you're sick, you throw
We watched
up,
the Johnny
you,
Depp trial.
You have terrible diarrhea. You sweat like you're running a marathon. You can't hold your legs still. You can't.
Your
lay
attorney
down
did
now.
also
Like, what I'm talking about.
get
the
real
legs
graphic
moving,
earlier.
That goes away after about 24 hours. So after about 24 hours, you can lay down again and maybe sleep some, but you sweat, you throw up. You have you just have, there's so many issues, but after 7 days, those are supposed to be over. That's what detox is, the detoxification of your body.
And what's rehab?
Rehab is the period that you go to learn how to stay off. You're supposedly off after detox. Rehab is where you get help staying off.
And before September 2021, had you ever gone to that second stage of rehab?
No.
So in December 2017.
So went to detox 3 times,
how
never
long
went
did
to
it take
rehab?
you to relapse once you got home from detox?
Not long at all. You're still going through, though this physical dependency is gone, you still have, you're still so sick.
I don't know if the physical.
You just,
Is that something you've been battling for quite some time?
as long as I can remember.
How long have you been drug-free, opioid-free?
535 days. And I'm very proud of that.
How long have you been in jail? Sorry, that was snarky.
I want to ask you questions about Labor Day
Wait
weekend.
a second. Wait.
2021.
Your lawyers sent you to detox right before you went into jail. I don't think you've been in jail 500 days because you went to detox right before you went to jail. Has he been in jail for 535 days? I've got questions.
Okay?
You remember being confronted by your law firm?
Sure I do.
Because he
What
was in
were you
detox when he was
confronted about?
arrested. He was
Stealing money.
in a facility in Florida. He went to detox, then to rehab.
And did you admit your misconduct to your law partners?
Well, to one of my law partners.
Did you
to
admit it?
one of
No, he was confronted
and
with it.
my brother and my law partners, Danny and Randy. Yeah,
Did
admitted it.
and they learned about a fake forge account? Did you admit that the
Fake forge.
account?
Yes, I did.
And did you tell them about your opioid struggles? Opioid addiction?
Y'all said
Told him about my
532
addiction,
days
yes,
puts
sir.
it at 6th of September. So that's right.
To your
That is
knowledge,
right when he went in
Were any of your law
and then went into
partners
custody.
aware of your addiction?
Not just to my knowledge, I'm certain that they were not aware of my addiction.
Well, that is right then.
How would you characterize your opioid use or addiction? Severe, moderate?
Then or now?
Well, you said you're not using now.
In 2020,
Then.
2021?
I don't know how I would have characterized it then. After going to rehab and learning more of the things I've learned, really talking to addicts about experiences. I mean, I will tell you that my addiction was extremely bad.
How were you able to function? Or were you able to function?
Yes, I was able to function.
You were able to practice law?
Yes.
What was it like when people took your pills?
Were you successful practicing law while you were addicted to opioids?
Yeah. But addiction
On
is a
some level,
huge
yes, sir, I was successful.
addiction is a huge issue within the field of law.
After you were confronted on Labor Day weekend 2021, did you resign or were you forced to resign from a law firm?
Absolutely.
Thanks, chat, for Googling the time. So
And
he's
then on
535 days clean is how long he's been, well, from rehab to into custody.
Saturday, September the 4th, do you remember what happened that day?
Saturday, September 4th, yes, sir, I remember.
And chat, I
What
know
happened?
a lot of you are in sobriety. You are welcome to celebrate your days too if you would
Start
like
when I
to.
woke up.
You don't have to.
Well,
That's
let's
totally on topic
start
here.
After you met with Chris Wilson. Did you meet with Chris Wilson?
I met with Chris Wilson at my mom's and dad's house in Alameda.
And did you lay it out for Chris Wilson, your opioid addiction and your misconduct?
I definitely laid out my addiction. I definitely gave him some details about monies that I had taken. I didn't give him, we didn't go into all the details about all of it, but I certainly was very candid with him about the things that involved him.
Had you already just contacted the detox facility before you met with Chris Wilson on the 4th?
I believe that we had already, at that point, I believe that we had already spoken to the guy that I knew from Sunrise and made arrangements for me to go there on Monday.
Okay. And
I know we had arrangements for me to go there on Monday, and I'm sure we had to have had it by then, because I went to the hospital shortly after that. So yes,
and did you reach out to Blanca to get your insurance information?
I did.
And for what purpose?
Because I was going to use my insurance at Detox and Rehab to help pay for it.
Not because you were planning to shoot yourself in the head or have yourself shot and survive.
What was your immediate plans after,
I'm glad they answered the question.
for the day after you met with Chris Wilson? Did you have plans to do anything?
But do private
Have any other
detox
meetings?
do
No.
private detox centers like that take insurance? I
wanted
feel
to
like that's a
go and
huge
meet with
issue,
Corey Fleming,
and maybe they don't.
another lawyer who was affected by the things I did,
And did
Corey
you,
Fleming's
and
also
a good friend.
affected
did
by
you
the
go
things he
meet
did,
with
though.
Corey Fleming?
No,
What'd you do instead?
They do.
I'd
Detox
given
centers take
my-
insurance. Thanks, chat.
when I gave
Some
my
will.
pills to my brother Randy and Danny, I think I gave them to Randy, but I took a lot of pills because I knew I wasn't gonna be taking anymore. So, Randy had my pills. I had to get some from him the night before, but I only got a
What?
small amount.
What? Then-
I could tell,
He said
I
he was
wasn't taking
calling.
anything near like what I had been taking, so I knew it was coming.
He said he was calling
And I called
Eddie Smith for
someone
pills
to
at the
bring me
hospital,
more
not
pills.
Randy.
And I believe before I met with Chris Wilson.
And did you meet this, did the person you called bring you more pills?
I don't know if he brought me more pills or not, because by the time I met with him,
Him who?
after meeting with Chris
He doesn't remember.
and after, the starting of the withdrawals, I changed my plans.
And what was the change in plans?
Not to get pills from him anymore.
Oh, Eddie
And
Smith.
instead, I asked him to shoot me.
Did you ask him to shoot you as a sympathy ploy, or did you want?
As a sympathy
Die.
boy?
Yes, sir. Why did you
No.
ask him to shoot you? What was the end goal that you wanted to accomplish?
I meant for him to shoot me so I'd be gone.
And who was this? Who did you ask to do this?
Eddie Smith,
And did he in fact shoot you?
he did.
And where was that located? Not your gunshot, but where were you shot in Hampton or Colleton County? Where were you?
It's Hampton County. It's right on the border of Salkehatchie Road that runs right along the Salkehatchie River.
And,
Okay.
And why did you want to be gone?
I mean, I knew all this was coming to a head. I knew how humiliating it was going to be for my son. I mean, I'd been through so much. At the time, in the bad place that I was, it seemed like the better thing to do. I don't think that way now, thankfully, but
Right.
I did at the time.
Did you have life insurance on you?
Oh, yeah, I had a lot of life insurance.
And who was the beneficiary?
Maggie was the beneficiary.
How
And
much
it-
life insurance did you have?
I had $12 million. I had a $4 million policy and an $8 million policy, for a total of 12.
Did you ever have any life insurance on Maggie?
No, never,
Did you ever have any life insurance on Paul?
no.
And that goes to the defense argument that if he was really that worried about money, why hurt anyone else?
Alex, will you
He has life insurance.
tell the story about Maggie and your relationship with her?
Y'all saw a picture. She was just as beautiful inside as she was outside. And I mean, she was so adventurous. I mean, you
We're
couldn't tell her
back more to the
something was
lip
good or bad.
smacking and
And
all
she
the
wanted to
things.
find out for herself. She wanted to do it, see it, experience it on her own, and form her own opinion. She was devoted. Those two boys, Buster, Paul, me. I mean, she made sure we didn't want for anything, ever. Fun, playful. I mean, she had a laugh that, you didn't even have to know what was funny. If you heard her laugh, you would laugh. She had this little playful look where she'd smile at you and bite her lip. I can't do it, but I mean, when she would just do it, it just melt you. She was such a lady, such a feminine person, a girl, but then she had 2 boys, and I mean, she didn't grow up in the swamp and in the country, riding 4-wheelers and hunting and fishing, and I mean, she changed everything. She became a boy's mom. I mean, her life became ball and riding 4-wheelers and, I mean, doing those things. Now, don't get me wrong, she was still 100% girl. And you heard Marion say, I mean, she loved to do those things with her nieces, but, I mean, she threw herself into her boy's life. I mean, you know, she never
Parenting.
took not working for granted. I mean, she might not have worked, but I promise you, she worked. And she worked to make sure me and Paul and Buster had everything. You know, she wanted a big family, and pregnancy just didn't suit her. Her pregnancies were so hard. I would leave her in the mornings and she'd be sick. I'd come home and check on her and she'd be sick. I'd come back at the end of the day and she'd be sick. I mean, she was so sick all the time with both those boys. And when we had Paw, Maggie got in trouble and Paw got in trouble. And just pregnancy didn't suit her, so we decided that, you know, we would just have the 2 boys. And
It sounds like they had a
You
very
know,
large family
I just
either
think-
way, though.
how hard it was on her just made her love those boys so much more. And she did. But she was the kind of person, Maggie, you know, she could put on the most elegant ball gown and go to the governor's mansion and hang out with, you know, the most
Jim looks like he's going to
affluent
cry.
people, whatever. Or she could come down to,
And for
know, she
me,
could
it's
go
John
to,
Marvin's face that is,
a food bank in
That reads
Hampton
more
or
true to me.
Walterboro and fit in.
I don't know what you guys think, but John Marvin just
Everybody at
is
both
clearly
places would
heartbroken.
say when she left, and that Maggie, she's a good one. She's just a special person,
Alec,
very special person.
would you ever do anything to harm Maggie?
I would never hurt Maggie, ever.
Will you tell the jury about Paul, please, and your relationship with him?
Yep.
And Paw,
It's the reaction of the family members.
I mean, Paw was just the brightest. He was the brightest. He's the most inquisitive young man. He wanted to be a part of everything. If you were working, I can remember as a little boy, you'd be working on something. It didn't matter what it was. His little head was going to come in there.
I have not seen Maggie's family in
nose in there
court
to
today
see
at all.
what you were doing. He was a man's man. He was 100% country boy. He was tough. I mean, he could hunt anything. He could catch any fish. He could run any piece of equipment. He could use any tool.
This has to be fucking weird
I
for
mean, he
Buster.
could do anything. At 22 years old, he could do so many things. I mean, he took care of so many, and he was so tough. But on the other hand, he had a side to him that was just so sweet. I I mean, he wouldn't come home where he wouldn't go check on his grandparents. He wouldn't go near Somerville where he wouldn't go out of his way, check on his grandparents. You know, to be such a tough person, he would get all of his buddies and get on a boat and go watch a sunset.
We know about his buddies in
I
the
mean,
boat.
22-year-old people, you know, do stuff like that. I mean, he was such a special boy. He cared about people. He was fiercely, fiercely loyal. He was so misrepresented in the media. I mean, never
media.
an accurate story told about what he was. And I'll challenge you right now.
Oh,
I would challenge everybody in this room
okay.
to go find somebody that knew Pawpaw, and really knew him, that did not have an ulterior motive, that would say something negative about him.
People have negative
And
experience.
I challenge everybody who can hear me now to do that.
People had
And
a
Paul
negative
was that kind of
experience
person. He-
with
he
your
knew
son,
him.
though. That's not
He
an
would help
ulterior
you.
motive, though.
And he would be glad to help you.
That's different, though.
You know, I thought Mark Ball made a good point when he said, you know, Pawpaw might not have
He didn't say
might not have
Pawpaw.
quite found his place yet. Paul was ADD, ADHD, and so he would jump around from thing to thing a lot. But there's absolutely no question in my mind whatsoever that Pawpaw would have found whatever that thing was that he was going to do. And whatever that ended up being, he was going to be one of the best at it that you've ever known. And I'll tell you one more thing. And I didn't even know this when Paul was alive. But, excuse me. Excuse me.
The ulterior motive thing is what
When
is hard for me
when
in
they
this
were doing his
soliloquy.
eulogy, I gave the names of some of his friends.
His friends didn't give his eulogy.
And he had a real cute friend that they were just friends, but some cute little girl that Maggie adored. I didn't know her very well, but Maggie did. Maggie adored her, but they talked to her, and Pawpaw, we learned this from her, Julianne. And at 22 years old, I learned, Pawpaw would tell his friends, be present, appreciate where you are, the things you have, and the people around you. I think a lot of that came from it hurt Paul so bad when Mallory died. But I mean, 22-year-olds, do you know that think that way? Be present.
22-year-olds
Appreciate
that have been
things around
through
you.
trauma. I'm not surprised by
At
that.
22 years old.
He was in a
He's the most special boy.
fatal
Do you love Paul?
I
Oh,
love
right.
him.
chat. He's watching your
Like
chat.
no other. He ambushed
Do you love Maggie?
more than anything. I love Maggie from the first time we went out.
Would you kill Maggie?
He's asked him that like 4 or 5
I
times.
did not kill Maggie. I did not kill Paul. I would never hurt Maggie, and I would never hurt Paul. Ever. Under any circumstances.
Thank you. Please answer any questions.
And that's the end of direct examination. We are now getting to cross-examination. Somebody bring him up another tissue, because where is he going? He just wandered off the stand. Didn't even get tackled by a bailiff. That is...
We'll take a 10-minute recess. Please do not discuss the case.
He is certainly very comfortable in this courtroom, more so than I've seen a defendant on trial for murder B. But he absolutely let the face fluids fly at the end of that. It's odd to hear him say Mallory Beach's name in this courtroom. For me, it's strange to also hear him talk talk about the fact what 22-year-old tells his friends to be present. I don't know. It's odd. It's just odd to me. It's odd to me with everything that we know. So with that, I'm going to answer some questions. I'm surprised that the court took a break, but maybe not. Give him a break before cross-examination. It's a good time for the afternoon break. It's 3:30 in the East. Court should run till about 5. So we have a hour and a half-ish for cross-examination. It was an interesting direct. He talked about the fact that he has been to detox 3 times, never went to rehab, that he quickly resumed his addiction after going through detox, that he has been sober for 530 something odd days. The chat looked it up, and that was exactly back to September 6th. He, after the roadside incident, went to the hospital, then went to detox in Georgia, and then went to rehab in Florida, and then was arrested from rehab in Florida and went into custody. So from the roadside incident, he never went home again. From the roadside incident, he went detox, rehab, jail. And that's where he has been since then. So with all of that, they asked a lot of times, did you hurt your family? Did you kill your family? Did you do this? Did you do that? And the jury might be left taking away, okay, so he lies, and he's clearly a lying liar that lies. He steals. He is an addict. But does that mean he killed his family? They didn't offer alternative theories. They didn't talk about drug debts. I don't know if we'll see the prosecution ask about it. If I was in that courtroom, I certainly wouldn't ask about it. I would pin down the inconsistencies and go from there. We'll see. The beginning of the day, the beginning of direct examination was real aggressive. So we'll see what happens. With that, I'm just going to ask real quick. Look, I'm going to ask real quick. I'm going to let you know and ask you a question. Law Nerds, you broke our website twice. So if you would like to try again to sign up for the Law Nerd Alerts at lawnerdalert.com, just lawnerdalert.com. Those are twice weekly emails to give you all of the upcoming streams, to keep you in the loop with what we've done over the week, to let you know when there's new podcasts, the topics, so that you just have one place to stay in touch. Let's see if we can break it a third time. I don't know. I have been assured that they have gotten it locked down. So if you break it again, you break it, you bought it at this point, chat. There's also a discount to the shop. And today I just got some samples. So we have some new things we'll be adding to the shop before the end of this trial. With that, Genevieve said, I do get the ADHD thing. I do too. I mean, and I don't understand. One of the things I don't understand is why Alec hasn't just said, I have no idea time-wise. Here's the thing I ask for all of my neurodivergent friends. Do not try to answer questions you can't. If somebody says, how long does it take you to do that? Just say, I don't know. It's okay. Even in life, my husband, how long until you're ready to go? My life would have been a lot easier earlier if I had just started saying, I don't know, instead of 5 minutes. It's never 5 minutes. I don't even know how long 5 minutes is unless I set a timer. I don't know. I just don't know. It's okay to just answer what you don't know. I'm completely time blind. I think Alec Murdaugh is too. And I wish that he would just answer that way. Don't fill in the gaps. I hope that on cross-examination, we will see Creighton fill in the gaps. It's okay to say what you know and what you don't know. It's okay to not try to fill in the gaps when people try to make you fill in the gaps. Just say that you can't. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Don't try to fill them in anymore. You don't have to mask for people. It's fine. And just because people, especially if you're being questioned by the police, trying to mask neurodivergence is not going to go well. And I don't know what we're seeing with Alec. And the thing is, if you believe he didn't do it, if you believe he wasn't involved, is his masking neurodivergence with trying to give timelines and trying to say it was 20 to 30 minutes and trying to do that, is that the police aren't going to look at that and be like, oh, that's ADHD and he's trying to like fill in the gaps because he doesn't want to say, I don't know. Is that going to end up being enough for the jury to be like, but then why did you say to Shelley Smith, I was here 30 to 40 minutes? in a way that made her so uncomfortable that she absolutely called her brother, who's a sheriff. So I don't know. But here's the thing. The first step is don't you have a right to not talk. You can exercise that right. Not me, not on the internet, but you have a right to not talk and you can exercise that. But for the rest of you, you don't have to talk. And if you can't answer, you don't have to answer. The fitness marshal, what's up, Caleb? It's good to see you in the chat. Oh my God, I feel this time blindness so hard. It is so hard. But when we try to fill it in, we always get ourselves into more trouble. I always get myself into more trouble instead of saying, I don't know. So now I just tell my family, when do you need me? I will set a timer and I'll make it fit. Like, don't ask me how long I'll be. I don't know. If you give me an hour, it'll be an hour. If you give me 5 minutes, I can make it work. So I just don't answer. So with that, we are in the middle of a wild case. And we're going to get into cross-examination after this break. So I'm going to go see if you've broken lawnerdalert.com yet real quick. And if you want to go sign up, we will not blow up your emails. We do not sell your emails. It is just so we can keep in touch with you because our text crew has been so difficult and we have so many international law nerds that we really want to make sure that there's a way so that you don't miss the stream that you want to miss. Oh, it's a little slow. It's a little slow. I think it might be broken again. Let's see if Law Nerd Alerts is working. We had a backup at Law Nerd Alerts so that we had both just in case, but it's looking a little slow. Yep. Law Nerds, you broke it. You break it, you bought it. We'll get back on with them. Yep, we're getting a 505 server error or 500 server error on it. Thank you, Law Nerds. We broke Emily's website again. They bumped our servers. I appreciate you. And we just broke it. It's not working. Yep, we broke it again. So give it a few minutes. We'll try it again at the next break. Let's just answer some questions, shall we? Let's keep breaking the internet, law nerds. Why not? Let's get to your questions. This case, man. And I'm going to send out the links in an email. I'll send out the links for tomorrow. It will be back up once it's not getting hit with much traffic. We'll put up the links for tomorrow and we'll do all the rest of it. But you broke the website again. And I love you for it. People don't know how powerful the law nerds are, but we got Wood Daddy Stacks trending on a whim because we were bored. Do not underestimate the power of the law nerds. Judy said, question, can you review any benefit Alec Murdaugh from the death of his wife and son? Or is it possible his drug contacts thought he'd benefit financially? I don't know. I don't think the state's theory is super clear. It was the world was crashing down around him. And his response to that was to kill his wife and son. They have not laid that out very clearly for me. What's interesting is that the state has the interviews. And once we started seeing the interviews where he said that he was trying to get nurses' phones to call to get narcotics, and then we heard testimony that Paul was taking his narcotics, and then we heard that he was the little detective, and then we heard he was getting confronted. That never came into the state's theory. The state's theory of the case is the financial world was crashing around him, so he killed his wife and son. We might see a more clear theory. Can I explain the state's theory? No, I can't. It still doesn't make sense. That being said, not all crimes, especially when you're looking at crimes within the family, make sense to us. Could they have skipped over the financial stuff with Alex so that if Creighton brings it up on cross, it's outside the scope of direct? Shelby, this is a great question, and I appreciate it. No. Cross-examination is wide open spaces. Wide open spaces. When you get to outside the scope is when we're getting into redirect and recross, not cross. Cross is just open. Chat, I love that you're comparing me to Taylor Swift. It's not even close. Ticketmaster is in no way involved, but I'm equally as embarrassed that our website keeps crashing. As a prosecutor, would you do anything different so far from what we've seen? Lucas Blue, there is not enough time in the world for what I would do different, but I don't practice in this jurisdiction or locality. I don't understand a lot of the ways that the prosecutors have done things. First of all, I'm not going to stand at the witness's shoulder and touch them constantly. That's never going to happen. Second of all, I'm not going to crawl around on the floor in a courtroom ever. One, I did have multiple knee surgeries on my left knee and I would never get back up. Two, I don't want my butt to be in the air when there are photographers in a courtroom. And three, courtrooms are nasty hotbeds of germs and I would never ever want to touch the floor. That's the beginning. Second, would I object more? Yes. I would object a lot more. They just loosey-gooseyed a lot of things in this trial, and it's wild. For those of you all asking if John Grisham is really in the audience, yep, we've seen him. Did you notice the sheriff move someone behind Alec's team and then sit in their place? Why did he do that? Probably for security. The sheriffs sit right behind Alec, but I didn't see it. Emily, do you need us to break any other websites? Just let us know. Law Nerds, I will keep you posted when we add new merch. I will say, we host our merch through Shopify. It has never gone down for us, ever. So now Law Nerd Alert is working and Law Nerd Alerts is not working. These are all server issues. It's just a traffic issue. I will talk to them again. I want a mug that says Law Nerds drink the face water of the guilty. I don't know about that. I have a very visceral response. Don't lie. Just say, I don't know. Better that way. It really is. I think people try to fill in the gaps when they're nervous, and it's better to not try to fill in the gaps. K. Martin, how long I've wondered who Chad is. Oh, chat. I think the chat is kind of a Chad. All of you, kind of a Chad. But yes, chat. Chat is bae. But also Chad's probably bae too. We have to remember Alec is a lawyer. Did we just see his best closing argument? I think so. I think we saw his best closing argument, but I think we saw his best argument in talking about the reason that there was no blood spatter on the shirt. Eric Billings in the chat said, Emily, I've been a lawyer for 40 years and enjoy your commentary so much. Thank you. Because we get to just talk about legal nerd shit in a real way. So with that, where was Alec's sketchy cousin? Maybe he was involved in the murder. We don't know much about Cousin Eddie, and it feels like Bruno. We just don't talk about Cousin Eddie. I don't know if that's going to come up more or not, but the judge is re-entering the courtroom. Let's go back to court. I'm going to keep answering questions and stop telling the neurodivergents they don't have to mask anymore. It's fine. Just say what. It's okay to share our boundaries. It's okay. It's okay to say, oh, I can't do that way. Emily, will it take you 5 minutes? I don't fucking know. I can't do that way. Emily, how long will it take to fix the website? I don't know. We'll see.
You may bring the jury.
Did the second half feel less authentic to you? I don't know. We're bringing the jury though. Let's get that courtroom volume up. Let's take a stretch break. Can the state call Cousin Eddie in their rebuttal case? Yes. Do you think Creighton's gonna ask, does anybody really know Alec Murdaugh? To Alec Murdaugh? Do you think it's gonna happen? I don't know. I loved when he was like, Alec Murdaugh, Murdaugh. It's like, that's not how you spell duck, my guy. But okay. But yes, I do think that is John Grisham. This first row behind the defense team is law enforcement. And then we get family back on that side before we get to visitors. So let's see. Please say hey to Louise D. We are both addicted to your channel, and I got her a goat for this trial. We all need our goats for this trial. We do. We've basically just turned into a morning radio show here with all our sound effects. It's great, and I love it. I want a mug that says, give the law nerds a website. They'll break it. We are there. Congrats to the internet. Hugs on your website. Thank you. Emily, say the website company to get a load balancer on it. I asked them earlier to load balance and expand server. We're going to have to do it again. Hi, Emily, software engineer. If you ever need help with your site, I'd happily donate my time. Emily Outdoors, thank you. We do have a team. I will reach, our team is going to reach out again, but it's just wow. Laura Voss says, this is not John Grisham. That is John Young, mayor of the town. I know his daughter. The interwebs is convinced it's John Grisham, but John Young maybe just got elevated to famous author status.
Cross-examination.
Ooh, what's the first question going to be? Oh, Creighton, come out slow. Go slow, my guy.
Murdaugh, let's start with a few things I think we can agree on.
Good.
All right, sir.
He's not running.
You agree that the most important part of your testimony here today is explaining your lie for a year and a half that you were never down at those kennels at 8:44. Would you agree with that?
I think all of my testimony is important, Mr. Waters.
Would
Good.
you agree that that's an important part of your testimony?
This is going to be a tussle
Sure.
of
All
the
right.
wills.
And would you also agree that the first time that law enforcement officers that you've talked to,
I think all of my testimony.
All right,
Important.
we switched feeds so we could see
do you agree
everybody.
that that's an important part of your testimony?
So that's why we got a little backward.
Sure.
All right. And would you also agree
Look, he's
that
staying at
the
the
first
podium.
time that law enforcement officers that you've talked to and the prosecution and here in open court ever heard you say that you lied about being in the kennels was today in this court?
Yep.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
You would agree with that?
He's not going to
Yes,
agree
sir.
with. He's not going to agree with you much,
All this
Creighton,
time later, this is the first time you've ever said that.
Yes, sir.
because he's testifying, so Creighton can comment. Creighton could not comment
You
on
would
this
agree with me
if he didn't testify.
that for years you were stealing money from clients
Yes, sir, I agree with that.
and that you were stealing from your law firm,
Yes, sir, I agree with that.
and that had been going on since at least 2010.
I'm not sure of the exact date, but it's been going on a long time. I'll agree with
All right,
that.
what's your best guess of the date?
I'm not sure. I have,
You don't know?
I don't take a dispute with 2010. I just don't know that for sure.
All right, sure about a lot of things.
Time.
Don't know that. Is that correct?
Well, Creighton, snappy.
I'm fine with that date, Mr. Waters. I don't have any reason to dispute it. I'm just not certain of it.
Ooh, they're going to get snappy. Yes, what he
Fine.
says here can be used against him in future courts.
Let's just keep on things that we may be able to agree about. And let's talk first about your family's legacy here in the legal profession, okay?
Yes.
Talk about anything you want to.
Good.
Yes.
Tell me about your great-grandfather. Was he the solicitor for the very circuit that we're in?
Yes, sir.
And what was his name?
Randolph Murdaugh Sr.
All right. What did he go by? Do you know?
Randolph?
Randolph? And did you ever get
and
to
then
know him,
Buster?
or did he pass before?
Oh, no, sir. He got killed in 1940.
And how long was he solicitor?
20 years.
20 years?
Yes, sir.
And then your grandfather, who was that?
Randolph Murdaugh Jr.
All right. And did he go by, what did he go by?
Buster. That's who Buster is named after.
And was he
My
solicitor?
granddad. Yes, sir. He was the solicitor for 46,
Family legacy.
46 years. From
you-
1940, he took over.
If y'all are new to this
My
case,
great-granddaddy got killed, and he served until 1986.
well, the great granddaddy
My
getting
longest
killed
serving
is
prosecutor
sus.
in the country.
And you knew him obviously well.
talk
He was
about
your
that later.
grandfather, correct?
Oh, I knew him extremely well.
This
and
is an
loved him
important
dearly.
part of this case.
Idolized him, did you not?
Yes, you know. I
So he
loved
was the
him
chief
dearly.
prosecutor for all that time as well, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then your father, Mr. Randolph, he became solicitor not long after that, is that correct?
When my grandfather retired, because you weren't allowed to be solicitor after age 72,
Solicitors
My
like
dad
the
took
elected
over,
elected
filled
district
his
attorney.
unexpired term, and then he ran.
And he became the chief prosecutor for this area right here as well?
Yes, sir.
Great
And
granddad,
how long was he
granddad,
solicitor?
dad.
From 1986 until 2006.
Till 2006?
Yes, sir.
I actually worked a case with him about a guy who killed a trooper.
I don't doubt you
He's a
did.
fine man.
Yes, he
And an
was.
excellent lawyer.
Yes, he was. And he was an excellent lawyer, right?
Yes, sir.
That's a big part of your family legacy and your heritage that's so ingrained around here is that history of being the chief prosecutor and being part of a central part of the legal community. Is that correct? Would you agree with that?
That my family's been a central part of the legal community. Yes, sir, I agree with that.
For over
And
100
not only just a
years.
central part of the legal community, but the chief prosecutor for this area since 1910, I think, up until 2006,
1920,
1920.
2006, 1910 is when my great-grandfather started the law
The
firm.
law firm.
Yes, sir.
PMPED started in
1906,
1910 until Alec destroyed it in
That's correct.
2021.
An unbroken chain of being the chief prosecutor here, correct?
That's correct.
And then you went to law school as well, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And when did you graduate from law school?
1994.
1994? And Did you ever become a full-time solicitor?
No, sir.
And so you went into private practice, I think, with Mawson Coon, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then you
1994.
went to the former law firm that no longer exists because of your activities, correct?
I started in
Answer my question if you
1994.
would, please, first.
What was your question?
My question was that you started first with Mawson Coon. Go ahead and answer that one.
Yes, that's correct.
And then you went to the law firm that doesn't exist anymore, that started in 19, but it doesn't exist anymore because of your activities, correct?
That's correct.
He's answering
And
calmly here. His
as part of
answers are
that,
just clear and
Your
short.
practice,
It's good
you were a
answers
trial
on
lawyer,
cross.
correct?
That's correct.
Successful trial lawyer.
I don't know about your adjective, but I was, I guess so, yes, sir.
Did you make millions of dollars in legal fees?
Yes, sir.
But you won't tell this jury that's successful.
Well, if that's the criteria, yes, sir, I was successful.
Well, you won cases, correct?
I did win cases.
Settled cases?
Sure, I settled cases.
I think he's
Heard
saying.
your former law
it-
partners say.
I don't know
that
if it feels successful to him now that
you were
he's
a
been
successful lawyer?
disbarred, Creighton.
I did hear some of them say that.
I think that feels a
you
little different to
became
him now.
President of the Trial Lawyers Association, is that right?
That's correct.
And when was that?
That's a big deal.
I'm not sure of the exact year, but it would have been
So was
in
Girardi, by the way.
2015 range,
President of different
2014, 15,
legal
16,
associations.
somewhere in there.
And in that role, you were kind of the president of the Association of People Who Do Trial Plaintiffs Work, right?
Thank you, Austin, for clarifying
Yes,
which
sir.
Wild Wing.
Who do jury trials, correct?
Appreciate
Well,
it.
I mean,
That's
that-
part of it, right?
Yes, sir, that's part of it.
That's part of it. Sitting down, looking jurors in the eyes and giving a closing argument, is that right?
Yes.
Just like you did here today?
And
Oh,
what
it's so
kind of
tempting.
cases did you normally do? Just generally what subject matter?
Plaintiffs.
I did all
This is-
kinds of cases. I did cases.
This is going to get to
that-
how horrific his theft
I
is.
mean, I handled some very big cases.
People who are the most in need.
I had a lot of cases where, somebody, their cable company was billing them $20 more than they should have been. And I handled everything from that to the big cases and everything in between.
All right, so the big cases, tell me about those. Those were typically plaintiffs' work, all plaintiffs' work, correct, for your big cases?
Yes,
Okay. And plaintiff's work is where, or there would be, say, for example, automobile or truck accidents, correct? Or that some of it?
every big case I ever had was an automobile. No, no, sir, not all of them were automobile wrecks.
Were many of them?
Sure.
All right. And if they, let's say, your plaintiff collided with like a UPS truck or a tractor trailer or something like that, you've had cases like that, correct?
I have.
And they led to very big recoveries, is that correct?
The UPS case that I handled?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. And as a part of that, developing those types of cases, you were involved in investigating the facts of the case, correct?
Yes,
And you were involved in gathering, let's say, telemetry data from automobiles, correct?
telemetry data like you presented in this courtroom this week.
Yeah. You never did that?
I've never had a case
Alex getting a little
specifically
spicy
where
first.
the type data that
Like you
y'all
did?
have presented in this case that I've used, but I've had data from automobiles. I've had
From their, essentially their computers?
OnStar
correct?
data. I've had data from the black box, but specifically telemetry data, I don't believe that I've ever had one of those.
But OnStar and black box data, correct?
More so the black box event recorder. I mean,
Trying to
many
get to
times
what
in a
he's
wreck,
familiar with.
The event recorder will go back and tell you things leading up to the wreck.
Sure.
So, and I've been in numerous cases where those were involved.
And you've had cases where cell phone evidence was relevant to your case?
Sure.
People's call logs were relevant to your case?
I have had those.
Getting to he
Cell
knew
tower location was relevant to your case?
he knew what would be looked at.
Yes.
That's the line of the
Computer
point of
evidence
this
was
line of
relevant to your
questioning.
case?
I'm sure I have, yes.
And when did you start with the law firm?
August or September of 1998.
And you've been doing essentially that kind of work, more or less, up until September of 2021, correct?
That's correct.
To the point where you rose to be the president of the Trial Lawyers Association.
I was the president of Trial Lawyers Association in around 2015, as we discussed.
So can we agree now on successful?
I mean, by those criteria, I was successful, certainly. I mean, we talked about a lot of my flaws here today, too. Do I feel like I was successful? No, sir. Not sitting here today, I don't. But if you want to use that term and on those criteria, I don't have any problem with you saying at that time it looked like I was successful.
Do you think people viewed you as a successful lawyer?
I think that's how you were
I'm sure there
perceived.
were a lot of people that did.
Do you think people viewed your family as very prominent?
I believe that there were a lot of people that did, yes, sir.
And did you think that a lot of people viewed you and your family as very prominent in the legal community here?
I never thought of myself as
I
prominent.
asked you if you thought if people viewed you that way.
Creighton,
At the time, did I think people viewed me
Yeah.
that way?
Yeah, prior to everything.
Creighton's getting calmer as Alex getting sassier.
No, I don't think
It's a
that
better
I thought
tactic.
people viewed me as prominent. No, sir.
Really?
I mean, like a big
Really?
shot? No, sir, I don't think that.
What about your family?
Really?
That my family thought we were big shots? No, sir, I
People
definitely
view
don't think
your
that.
family as prominent in this community.
Oh, boy.
Prominent,
Yeah.
as in,
It's not a hard question.
well,
Creighton?
I'm just not sure.
What
You
you
know,
mean? Creighton, let him
I
answer.
think my family was very well thought of. I think my family was respected. I think my family helped a lot of people.
I'm not challenging you on any of that. I just
He didn't want to be
you
called a
agree
big
what seems to
shot.
be a basic fact. Would you agree with that?
He doesn't want to be
What,
called
that
a
my
big
family
shot.
helped a lot of people and was well thought
Very
of?
prominent.
He doesn't like the word prominent. Why?
If that's what you mean by that, yes, sir.
And that your family had a very long association with law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
And you had a long association with law enforcement.
Yes.
Yes.
By association, I assume you're talking about friendships? Yeah.
But not only just friendships, but also professional as well, correct?
As a
Professional
prosecutor,
associations with law enforcement.
as a prosecutor, or as a civil
Let's talk-
attorney?
Okay, let's talk about civil. Did you have associations with them in civil cases?
Sure. I mean, as we discussed, a lot of cases that I handled were wreck cases, or might be a train wreck or tractor trailer, but there were a lot of highway patrolmen involved. There were a lot of local law enforcement involved. So yeah, we dealt with a lot of law enforcement in the civil practice.
All right. And
Yeah, why doesn't
then
he
you also
like
mentioned that you were a
prominent?
prosecutor as well, correct?
I was a volunteer assistant solicitor.
Did you or your family or your law firm ever have events or parties or social affairs in which the law enforcement community in this area was invited?
Of course.
I mean, sure, the law firm itself didn't really sponsor things like that. But there would be occasions where one of us in the law firm, and certainly we all had a lot of friends in law enforcement, and they were always invited.
Okay. And it's a simple point. You had a lot of friends in law enforcement, your family and you had a long association with the law enforcement community in this circuit. Is that correct?
Association being friendships and working relationships, absolutely.
Okay. All right, well, let's talk about being a prosecutor. When did you become an assistant solicitor?
I believe that I became an assistant solicitor when I moved from Beaufort to Hampton. So that would have been September, sometime around September 1998. Might have been a little bit after that, but sometime.
Ain't so plain Jane. It's
Did you get
because
a
prominent
badge when you
also
came an
means
assistant solicitor?
feared.
At some point I did, yes, sir.
Facts.
And who gave you that badge?
My father,
Mr. Randolph?
yes, sir.
And over the years, did you prosecute criminal cases, much as what's going on here today?
Yes, sir, at times I did.
And
I believe that I prosecuted from 1998 to 2001. I believe that
2001? Keep going, I'm sorry.
2021, I'm sorry, until 2021. From 1998 to 2021, I believe I was involved in 5 jury, I believe there were 5 trials.
5?
Trials?
Is the best that I can remember.
5?
All with my dad. That was really the purpose of me being assistant solicitor, was
To do
get
trials
spend
with your
time
daddy?
him, do things with him.
Sure. And you,
I'm not a legacy lawyer. I
5
don't know
jury
what this
trials over all
world
that
is.
time, but you had a badge that entire time, is that correct?
I had a badge for a big part of that time, yes, sir.
You actually had 2 badges, right?
What?
I had 1 badge, but
You got your
my
dad's
granddad
badge?
became an assistant solicitor for my dad. When my dad became the solicitor, he had an assistant solicitor's badge.
Right.
When he passed away, I had
They just
his
hand 'em
badge,
down?
and that was one of, at some point in time, you were asking somebody about 2 badges, and that was the other badge.
I got you. You said you did 5 criminal jury trials.
Not a
as
legacy in my
prosecutor,
field. Don't know what any of this is
Assistant
like.
in those, or was doing them, yes, sir. I believe I was actually the lead lawyer in one of them.
Rebecca,
I held my
everything's all over
dad
the place.
in the other 4.
Badges
Still
are all over the
part
place.
of
Guns are
preparing
all
the
over the
case?
place.
Yes,
Boats
sir.
and cars are all over the place.
Part-
Clothes are all over the
part
place.
of, gathering the evidence and putting it together for trial?
In a criminal case, we didn't do much of the gathering of the evidence. We took what law enforcement had gathered, but,
But putting it together for the criminal trial, correct?
yes, sir.
Presenting evidence in court,
Yes, sir.
giving jury argument?
I did the closing argument in one of them, yes, sir.
Did you ever have any cases that you prosecuted that went short of a jury trial, either pled out or were dismissed for some reason?
You know, I'm sure that at some point over between 1998 and 2021, that I took some plea, but as we sit here today, I can't specifically remember that, and I don't ever remember working a case up for trial that didn't go to trial. But I'm sure at some point in time, I was involved in some level on a guilty plea, or guilty pleas.
Chat, you're
You'd agree with
hilarious.
me that the civil
A-
system and the criminal system have a lot of
A
differences,
solicitor
right?
badge looks like a law
A
enforcement
lot of
badge.
differences and a lot of similarities.
And a lot of similarities, and that's where I was going next. And fundamentally, it's about
Trial. It's about
analyzing the
people.
evidence, preparing for trial, presenting
back
that
there.
case, and making your argument to the jury, correct?
That's a big part of it.
So the badges look
And
like
Would you agree with me that as cases
Law
go
enforcement badges.
on, or as you are preparing for trial, that you analyze the evidence that's been gathered by law enforcement and present the evidence that, that supports your case, correct? That's just part of it.
Presenting evidence that you deem favorable for your position?
Yeah. That you analyze the evidence and then you put in the evidence that supports your case. It's an ongoing process. Would you
Yeah,
agree with that?
that's part of what you do.
And same thing in the civil case, right? As you go along, you may have evidence, but you ultimately analyze that evidence, and some evidence makes the cut and some of it does not. Is that fair to say?
As far as what you're trying to, I think
It's a
we
simple
agree on
question.
that.
We would agree on that.
I think so. I'm not exactly sure what your question is, but I think I understand it.
I'm just asking you that as a lawyer, as you've been since 1994, is that right?
That's correct.
It's a simple question. You analyze the evidence that's been gathered, whether civil or criminal, and then present that in court. Is that correct?
Yes.
Alex trying to
That's part of
figure-
what
That
you
is
do.
an ongoing
Alex trying to figure out where
process
Creighton
as
is
you
going
prepare
while
for
they're
a case.
talking.
Is that correct?
it is a match.
Ongoing process as you
Countermatch.
prepare in criminal courts or civil courts?
Either one.
Well, I mean, but there's a distinction, because in civil court,
Oh, yeah,
you have
Creighton's
the
ready to take his
deadlines,
time.
and so you aren't allowed to gather evidence during a trial or a week before a trial, or, you know, for instance, if this was a civil trial and we found that OnStar data during the third or fourth week of trial, you wouldn't be able to use it.
Don't tell
'cause
that
you're
to
past
Spicy Draco.
deadlines. But in a criminal case, you are able to use
Well,
it.
you can use it
But
in
you would
rebuttal.
agree that none of that was the fault of anyone on this side of the table, that GM initially responded they
Oh, yeah.
had nothing and then responded all of a sudden that they did.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion, and that's certainly not anything I'm intending to convey.
You talked to this jury a lot about that, but you know nothing about that particular part of it. Is that what you're telling me? You talked to the jury a lot about the GM data, but you're telling me that you're unaware that that GM initially responded to law enforcement's timely request and said they didn't have that, but then in the course of the trial,
Poof.
all of a sudden came up and said, you know what, we found something, and that's the reason why it arrived late. You're saying you don't know anything about that after
You don't know
talking to
anything
the
about
jury
that?
about that?
I don't know a single thing about that. I know that y'all represented that to the court, and I don't have any reason to doubt it. But I don't,
And you would agree that that's
I don't know
generally
about them
consistent with
things.
the telemetry data that the FBI did, correct?
He's like, I don't know about
Non-star
that.
data.
the OnStar, I think the OnStar data and the telemetry data are totally different.
All right, you don't think they're generally consistent with one another? Is that what you're telling this jury?
That's what he's telling
No,
you.
I'm not telling the jury anything about that. I'm just saying, do I think they're consistent? I think the OnStar data tells gives you one set of information, and the telemetry data gives you another set of information.
Okay. But you don't think they're consistent? I mean, you talked
I
about it to
don't-
this jury. I think we're struggling on what seems to be a fairly simple point, don't you agree?
Hey, law nerds.
Mr.
I'm on
Warren, I'm
website
just trying to
chat.
answer your question.
They've assured me that
so-
lawnerdalert.com will not crash
I'm not trying to
again.
be difficult. I just.
So if you wanna try to
my
sign up, go
understanding
ahead.
of What you're referring to as the telemetry data is when a car goes into park and drive and that sort of thing. Is that what you're referring to?
Go give it a
Yes.
shot, see if
And
we
the
can break
GPS
it.
information is telling you where a vehicle is on a certain path
Correct.
and what direction it's going. So I think that they're just they're two different types of information.
The question was, were they consistent with one another?
I guess so. I don't think they contradict each other.
I use consistent and different synonymously,
All right.
Creighton.
You were the breadwinner for your family, correct? For your immediate family.
Yes.
And that included obviously for Maggie, correct?
I'm sorry?
That included for Maggie, correct?
Absolutely.
And in large measure for Buster and Paul as well. Would you agree with that?
That I was the
The
breadwinner in
primary
large measure?
breadwinner, yes.
No, I was their source of,
Income?
I was the source of income for Maggie, Buster, and Paul.
Okay.
I mean,
Weren't-
I guess as
weren't
they got
Paul and
older,
Buster working?
I mean, there's some point where Buster had a job, but, I mean, I would still consider myself the provider for them at that time.
I mean, again, there's no trick here. I'm just trying to ask a simple question.
Mr. Waters, I don't think that was a trick, so,
There aren't any simple
So you were the
questions right now,
primary
Mr. Waters.
breadwinner. We can agree on that.
yes,
correct?
sir.
Go ahead. Give me 1 second.
All right, law nerds, lawnerdalert.com. I am assured that it will work. Did you learn to manage time blindness for lawyer life? Oh, I'll talk about that in a minute. Work, because that's a much longer answer. Sharing so much unnecessary storytelling. This is his moment to tell this jury everything, and he is on trial for
All right, I'm
his
going to show
life
you what's
either
been
way.
marked as States 570, and see if you recognize this particular item. You can go ahead and take
Smokey
it.
Celery says hello to mom. Oh God, not another unboxing. Don't ask him to throw it.
All right.
Oh, that's his badge.
That is,
Yes, sir.
that's 571.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then I'm going to show you what was in the bag in 570. Can you tell me what that is?
I can.
All right. What is that?
Which one?
570. What is that?
All right. 571 is what I would consider to be my badge.
All right. And then what is this one right here, which is 570?
This is
Okay,
not.
570 would be the one I told you about, was my grandfather's badge after he retired, when he became an assistant for my dad.
Your Honor, this time I'd offer states 571 and 570 in the evidence.
He is facing
I
life.
admit it.
He is facing life. These are the badges. These are the badges that he
Where
is
did you keep
using.
570? The one that was your grandfather's?
Did you keep it on the
He didn't
dash
have
of your
them.
car?
Single place that it was kept.
You know where it was recovered by law enforcement?
No, sir.
I'd like to.
Would you dispute if it was recovered out of the Mercedes you were driving on September 4th, the day of the side of the road incident?
No, I believe that.
Yeah, the Elmo police
That was Maggie's car. I have. I showed my badge a couple days ago. I would have to get back there and grab it. It's, let's see, hold on. It's right above the sub counter. My badge is right there in Lucite.
And
After I
571,
retired.
where'd you keep this one?
Usually in my car.
Where in your car?
It could be all of it. Could be on the dash, like you were talking to
Not
Mark Ball
okay.
about. It could be in the center console. It could be in the cup holder. It could be on the seat. Be on usually in the front seat, but in my car is where I tried to keep it.
And when you had it in your dash, would you have it face up or face down?
What's the point of having it face down?
I didn't have any particular
Yeah, you
manner
did.
in which I
Yeah, you
stored
did.
it anywhere.
No.
There was no rhyme or reason to it, is what you're telling me?
You don't put a badge on your
had it in the
dash for
dash.
any other reason than to have a badge
There
on
may
your
be
dash.
occasions where
Come
I had it in
on.
the dash for some particular reason, but there were a lot of times where it probably was in the dash for no particular reason.
Put it in your
other than
car
that's
so
where I
law
put it.
enforcement will
It's like,
never pull you over for
put it on the
anything.
seat or in
It's
the cup
not
holder.
okay. He did use his badge like a cop. He used it to get into crime scenes and other things, but it's a symbol.
You said there were particular reasons why you might put it in the dash. What would those reasons be?
Man, it could be any number of things. If I'm going somewhere where I want somebody to see it, then I would put it in the dash. If
It is a misuse
There's
of the
another-
badge.
reason for somebody to see it, like for instance, if I get pulled over, I might have it in the cup holder so an officer could see it when he walked up.
Yep,
Why would you do that?
because he was speeding. Stacy, I see your chats. I'm just not answering
You were on official business, are you?
questions.
No, I'm not saying I'm on official business.
Why would you want it in a cup holder if you got pulled over?
So they'd leave me alone? That's the answer. So they'd leave me alone.
Because I've found that law enforcement oftentimes is friendlier when
You have a
you're
badge.
in law enforcement.
When you're law enforcement.
Creighton, where do you
So you
keep your
consider
badge? I bet
yourself
it's
law
not the fuck
enforcement?
on his dashboard.
No, sir, I can't say that I considered myself law enforcement.
Well, you carried a badge on you
Did you consider yourself
as
above the
an
law?
assistant solicitor for 2 decades roughly?
Didn't
From
you?
around 98, so
Is that
yes, sir, for
correct?
2 decades.
And you would ride with it sometimes sitting in the front dash facing out, correct?
That's correct.
And you would put it in the cup holder so that law enforcement would see you if you got pulled over, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so but you didn't consider yourself law enforcement?
I personally didn't consider myself to be law enforcement, no, sir.
All right, so you were just using having this badge to your advantage and taking license with it, is that correct?
Yep.
I guess in some circumstances that is accurate.
I guess in some circumstances that is accurate. It seems like in most circumstances that's accurate. You would never.
See if you could use it to get away with something, correct?
Uh-huh.
Get better treatment if you got pulled over.
Yeah, this is stuff law enforcement doesn't do. This is stuff that he does.
Get better treatment if I got pulled over. I mean, that's probably a fair statement. That, yeah, if somebody in law enforcement saw that, yeah, I'd say that's true.
Did you have to take an oath when you got that badge?
No, sir.
You didn't?
Not that I remember. I don't.
Really?
I certainly don't recall taking one, like, so going somewhere and raising my hand.
Raising your
and-
hand and saying, I promise to do my duty fairly and with integrity? You never had to do that?
Really?
Mr. Waters, if I did, I sure don't recall it. I mean, it was a very informal process when I became
Of course it
volunteer assistant solicitor for my
Volunteer.
dad. And then when I continued.
My
with
daddy gave me
Duffy,
a badge.
I mean, at some point, you know, if I took any oath at all that I can remember, it would be on some paper that I may have had to sign, but I don't specifically remember doing that.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's go back to 571. And on the inside of it, what are those right there? Are those an ID card with your picture on it?
Yes, sir, that is.
All right, and at the top, on that top, leave it in there if you would, please. Can you not see it?
I can, but I was just gonna see what's on the back. All right, sir.
All right, and it's got your picture on it, got your name on it?
Yes, sir, that does have my picture and my name.
Because he didn't get hired. He
Good.
wasn't a
Put that
hired
one back
solicitor.
there, please.
He had all the benefits and none of the work
So you want me to
because his daddy gave him a
Look at the
job and a
top one.
badge.
Okay,
What office does it say that you are on that top one right there? Up there at the top.
State of South Carolina Solicitor, the Solicitor of the 14th Judicial Circuit. It says that I, as Solicitor of the 14th Judicial Circuit, I do hereby certify that, and it has,
Your name.
right? And it has all that data.
What position does it say that you're appointed to?
As the, okay, it says that as Solicitor of the 14th Judicial Circuit, I do certify that Richard A. Murdaugh was on July 1st, 2013, appointed as the Deputy Solicitor of Allendale, Beaufort, Colleton, Hampton, and Jasper counties in and is authorized to enforce the laws in the 14th Judicial Circuit of South Carolina.
This is getting to his
And it's-
above
yes,
the
sir.
law status.
Signed by Duffy Stone.
Signed by Duffy Stone, so Deputy Solicitor, is that correct?
I was never a deputy solicitor, Mr. Waters. That's what that says, but I've never been.
D-Tam is, I
a
don't
deputy solicitor.
like,
Unless deputy solicitor is, I was a volunteer assistant solicitor.
I don't like
As
a lot
far
of
as
his
I know,
behavior.
Sean Thornton has been the only deputy solicitor that Duffy Stone had.
And it's a simple point. It says Deputy Solicitor, but Deputy Solicitor is a higher rank than Assistant Solicitor, correct?
Correct.
To your understanding?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
And that was Sean Thornton.
don't like a lot of
I've
his
never been
behavior.
deputy solicitor, even though that does say that.
I don't like a lot of Alec's behavior. So I do not like Alec Murdaugh
that was
very much.
signed by
But my
Duffy
mind is
Stone,
not made
not
up on
by
this
me.
case.
I understand.
But my annoyance
was
for
given to
him cannot
That's what was
be
given to you.
I went through
understated.
this whole long thing at the beginning about whether or not you had an association with the law enforcement community, but this was given to you not by your father, but by
Duffy
a
Stone.
successor, correct?
Well, no, sir, I believe we got to this because you were asking me if I took an oath, and I don't remember taking an oath, and then you started asking me about these things.
Okay. And you agree that this card says Deputy Solicitor, right?
Yep.
I agree that card says deputy solicitor.
Would you agree with me
Is that
that
why
it
you
says
don't
on the
trust
back
SLED?
that
So I don't like
imposing
his
special
behavior at
trust
all.
and confidence in your ability, care, prudence, and integrity? Is that what it says on the back of this?
I mean, if you're, no, sir, I mean, I trust, if you're reading that off the back of that, I assume that it does.
the badging one way and the other just.
You were reading off of the one that,
Oh.
the one that Duffy Stone gave me, correct?
Yeah, and then the one at the top, where did that one come from? You want me to bring it back to you?
No, sir, I think I can see it. That
It's
would
not
be,
focused very well.
that's okay. I mean, I know what it is. I looked at it when you handed it to me. So the card on the bottom is what I got from Duffy Stone. The one on the top, and the one on the top should give you a better, there we go.
This
All
is
right.
just going through the privileges he
So-
had to set
The one
up
on the top was.
why he didn't think law enforcement
what
would look into
came
him, I think.
From my dad when he was solicitor. The one on the bottom's what came from Duffy Stone when he was solicitor. And Duffy Stone took over after my dad retired in 2006. Duffy Stone filled my dad's unexpired, the rest of his unexpired four-year term, much like my dad filled my granddad. So, and then Duffy became the solicitor.
Did you ever have lights in your vehicle?
Oh,
In the particular vehicle? that-
any
In
vehicle.
vehicle? Yes,
Any
sir, I
vehicle.
did.
You
Was that a
what?
government vehicle?
No, sir, it was not.
Who gave
When did you
him?
have lights?
Who gave
like
him
blue
code
lights and
lights?
stuff?
Yes, sir, I had some blue lights.
When did you have blue lights? And let me remember,
The
you did
fuck?
5 cases over 20 years? And you had blue lights in your vehicle.
There were
but
times I did
it was your
5
private
cases in a,
vehicle, correct?
5 trials in a month.
It was the vehicle that I drove. It was law firm owned vehicle.
The law firm's own
The
vehicle.
law
So
firm
how-
owned a
how'd you get
vehicle
blue
with
lights in there?
lights?
I had them installed.
And who installed them?
I believe that
Who are you?
Eddie Gibson installed them.
And who was that?
He's the guy who apparently does
Does it
blue light
for the law
work
enforcement?
for
You can't
most of
just
the sheriff's departments in the 14th Circuit and a lot of the police departments.
you can't just have
did
lights in
you-
your vehicle.
When did you have that installed? Do you recall?
What?
Was it one vehicle or more than one vehicle? Let's start with that.
The law he had lights on the law firm
I believe
vehicle.
I had it in. I believe I had blue lights in one vehicle.
And when did you have that installed, do you think?
I'm not sure. It would have been.
I mean, 5 years, 10 years?
No, here I can give you a time frame.
Okay.
Can
The
you?
vehicle that I was in on that got
Installed fucking lights.
taken in on June the 7th. I got that vehicle sometime around late December or January, so I'd had it for 6 months. I would have had the previous vehicle for 5 years. That's how long we kept vehicles
At the law firm.
in the law firm.
The
So I
law
would have
firm
had
paid
it
for the
5
vehicle.
years. And sometime during that 5-year period, I had lights installed.
Did you ask the
Confidential
sheriff
license
at the
plates as
time
well,
if you could do
then.
that?
I did.
The sheriff
was
said
that?
yes.
I believe it was T.C. Smalls,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe in Colleton it was Andy Strickland,
So he has a
Colleton was Andy
badge
Strickland?
and I believe in
Lights.
Allendale it was Tom Carter.
and a gun in his car. Tell me again, you didn't think you're law enforcement? Tell me
Are you
again.
friends with Andy Strickland?
Yeah, I was friends with Andy Strickland.
And you said, hey, I'm gonna get some blue lights installed in my vehicle, and he said, that's cool. Or
Sounds
words
like
to
a-
that effect.
I mean, that doesn't sound like the words that he would have used or I would have used, but I certainly asked him, and he certainly said it was okay.
I like
Carter, but I believe so.
I don't know what glitched, the Matrix, but I like Creighton's pacing. I think we're going to
I'm gonna show you just real
we're
quick.
getting to why law enforcement wasn't giving him the
States
business.
507.
And I think it's
See if
important.
you recognize that.
This is why law enforcement didn't tell his friends to leave.
I believe this is my Suburban.
He installed blue red lights in the Suburban
this
that
is-
belonged
this
to the
is my
law
Suburban
firm.
that,
But I like this pacing for Creighton. Where was this pacing the whole trial? It's much more effective.
Was on the day of the incident?
I have no idea.
You don't recall putting it there?
No, but I don't take issue with the fact that it's,
They're showing him pictures
I
of
don't
where it
take
is.
issue with the fact that it's there, if that's if that's how they say it was.
This is explaining Sled's behavior.
States 507 in evidence.
I don't know. Are y'all finding yourselves a little more empathetic to Sled now? I don't know. You let me know in the chat. Are you like, no, not at all, or yes, kinda? Does this make sense? Does this make Sled's hesitancy makes more sense to you? Yeah, you can't have lights in
You,
your car because it's illegal. Fucking hell. I might have to put up a poll.
Testified
'Cause we got
some
some
about the
splits.
boat case,
I'm gonna put up a
and
poll.
We'll talk more about that
Boat
later.
case, I'm sorry.
The boat wreck case, can we agree that that's what we're talking about when we say the boat case? February in 2019?
Well, there's two things. You referring to the civil case when you say the boat case.
Okay.
But when I think about the boat case, I think about the charges that y'all brought against Paw Paw.
Okay.
So, but there, also the civil case.
Paw Paw? That was your new name for Paul?
Today it was.
I mean, I called him Paw Paw. Maggie called him Paw Paw. Bus calls him Paw Paw.
Sure.
Roro calls him Paw Paw. I mean, that's
Roro?
not.
Who was Roro?
That's Rogan Gibson.
Rogan! Keep up,
And-
Creighton. We heard about that in direct.
This jury, of course, has heard multiple recorded statements of you during the course of this. Did you ever refer to Paul as Paw Paw during that?
I don't know
You don't, do you recall?
I know the answer.
how I referred to.
What is no?
I can say Paul if you prefer that.
No, you can call him whatever you want. I'm just asking you if you ever called him that.
It's
during
just
the
getting
course
to
of that
the
entire
way you try to sway a
investigation, or is
jury,
that
sir.
Also the first time today, at least publicly.
Is today the first time I've called my son Paul? No, sir, that is not correct.
Have you ever called him that on all the recorded statements that this jury has heard?
I know.
I don't know.
No, you
You ever
haven't.
called Rogan Roro?
No.
In all
called
the
him Rogan
recorded statements?
All the time.
In the recorded statements, did you ever call him that?
I don't know. I mean, I called him Rogan also, so.
This goes to his
I
sway
don't know.
with the jury. This goes to reading a jury.
But I'm happy to call him Rogan, and I'm happy to call Paul.
No, that's not Creighton's point, sir.
All right, well.
Creighton's
let's talk
point.
about- And I'll be specific with the boat race, wreck criminal case and the boat wreck civil case, okay?
Thanks, Creighton.
Is that
Yes,
fair?
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. And
This is very interesting. But they've elicited a lot of testimony that he was good with juries and good
we've
with
talked a
reading
little
people.
bit about your badge. Did you have your badge with you on the night of the boat wreck?
They got down to the crime scene. We heard all about that.
On the night of the boat wreck, did I have it with me?
Yeah.
He had it all the time.
When?
Did you go to the hospital that night?
I did go to the hospital that night.
Oh,
Did you have it
shit.
with you then?
We're doing this?
I don't know, but I don't believe so, but I really
You
don't
don't
know.
believe so?
Woo!
When you went to the
bitch.
hospital on the night of the boat wreck, were you acting in any official capacity?
The night of when I went to the hospital, was I acting
Yeah.
in an official capacity?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay.
Don't stop now, Creighton. We got questions. Creighton? We got questions. Sam asked if I got blue lights. No, they're for law enforcement. I was not law enforcement. No, no, no. If I had to show up at a crime scene, there were already law enforcement there.
I'll show you what's been marked as States 569. And do you recognize the person on the right in that image?
Oh, man.
No, sir.
You don't recognize that?
He said no.
I don't recognize him.
No, I'm asking about that.
Oh, me?
Is that you?
Yeah, it looks like me.
All right. What's hanging out of your pocket in plain view?
Looks
Oh,
like a
gosh.
badge.
He's got his
You
badge
didn't
in his
recall that
pocket.
until I just showed you that picture?
No, sir, I did not.
Your Honor, it offers States 569 in the evidence.
Admit it.
Wait,
That's you in the white
chat,
shirt, is that right?
I do have blue lights.
Yes, sir, it is.
Oh, shit.
And this is the badge hanging out of your pocket?
Oh, my goodness.
Remember which, is that correct?
Looks to be, yes, sir.
Which badge is that? Which one of the two, do you remember?
Nah, you can't tell from here.
Okay. And why'd you have it hanging out of your pocket like that?
We know
I
why.
don't remember having that. No, I don't know.
You don't remember that?
We know why.
I don't remember that, no, sir.
Did you generally walk around with your badge hanging out of your pocket?
Generally speaking, no, sir, I did not.
Or only when you wanted some advantage from it?
Yep.
Did I
Did you want some advantage from wearing it like that?
hang it out in my pocket when I wanted an advantage?
Yes.
I may have.
Explain,
Certainly may
please.
have.
What
Explain.
advantage did you want
When?
then?
At the
I don't even
hospital.
recall this, Mr. Waters, but if I was wanting some advantage, as you say it, I guess, and I don't remember this, but I guess I would want, as I said, a badge has a warming effect with other law enforcement.
With other law enforcement.
And so if I was seeking
With
any advantage,
other
as you say,
law
then I guess
enforcement.
that would be what it was.
Interesting choice of words. Law enforcement generally wears their badges on chains under their shirt if they're not in uniform. They don't
You ever
hang
wanna
it
be
out
the
their
solicitor?
pocket.
Yeah, there was a time period where I did.
Did you ever want to be the solicitor? The
Yeah,
elected solicitor?
there was a time period when I absolutely did.
When was that?
Prior to my dad,
All of the
Retiring?
audacity.
Prior to 2006?
yes, sir.
How long did you explore that?
I mean, I wanted to be a solicitor for a long time, but,
But
at the time when my dad retired,
I actually
I
want
was
to know the answer to
already
this.
struggling with pills, and I knew I couldn't do it.
In 2006?
Yes, sir.
And we'll talk more about the pills in a bit, but you say you're already struggling with pills in 2006, correct?
That's correct.
But over that next 15 years, you still were able to maintain a lucrative law practice. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
And you've already testified that all your law partners had no idea of
True.
this pill problem that you had all that time,
Good
correct?
question.
I'm testifying that I believe, in fact,
No. 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 No.
I'm certain that none of my,
That night of the boat wreck, you say you don't remember putting your badge out, correct?
no, I don't remember, I don't even remember having my badge.
Do you remember going around talking to the kids? The other
Oh,
kids that were on the boat?
shit.
Yeah, I talked to some of them,
You remember going to do that?
yes.
And was your badge hanging out when you did that as well?
You know, I wouldn't think so, Mr. Waters, but like I say, I don't think so.
Right. So it just comes naturally to put your badge out on something like this that you don't even remember why you did that.
No, I don't even remember having my badge, and I specifically know that I didn't use the badge. You know, did I mean to do this? I'm not saying that I didn't, but I don't know if I was putting it in my pocket and the flap, you know, you
No.
notice that flap is
flaps.
not Velcroed down.
No way.
I don't know. I don't have a specific memory of that.
No way.
And I never went around, you know, acting like I was on official business.
So you're
So-
saying it might be an accident that your badge was hanging out there?
I'm saying that I have no memory of that whatsoever.
All right, well, you never used these badges as like a wallet, right?
No, I did.
You did?
I did.
So you're saying you had your
That's
your
common.
credit cards and all your stuff in there?
No, sir.
Yeah.
No, sir. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that on that night. You just asked me if I ever used it as a wallet, and there were times when I used it as a
Were
wallet.
you using it as a wallet that night?
I don't remember, but I don't think so. I didn't use it as a wallet very often, and I didn't use it as a wallet for very long when I did use it as a wallet.
So let's see if we can get back to what we agree on. So
He
you would
couldn't
agree
use
that
it as
you
a
had to
wallet,
make
it was in his
conscious decision
car.
to grab that badge and when you
Flap
went
it
into
out of
the
your
hospital.
pocket?
Correct. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, at some point, I had to make a conscious decision to pick it up.
Okay. But you're saying you don't know if you hung it out like that on purpose while you're talking to that law enforcement officer, or if it's just an accident that it's hanging out of your pocket in full view of everyone.
Well, I am saying that because that is not how I would normally carry a badge. And even if I wanted to give somebody an impression, to me, that's got kind of an obnoxious look to it. That is not something that, I mean, that's not something I would typically do. But I may have done it that night. I have no memory of that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you're saying that just could be an accident that it's hanging out like that?
No.
I'm saying it could be, or I could have put it there like that.
All right.
I don't remember.
Did you generally just walk around with it in your pocket?
No, because it was in his car.
Would you only carry it when you wanted to use it for something?
For those asking me to
No,
slow
I
the
wouldn't
chat, it
generally
is
carry it
slowed.
around in my pocket just any time.
Okay. All right. All right. So we got the badge that may be accidentally hanging out of your pocket. You won't concede that you did that purposefully.
I mean, Mr. Waters, if you want me to say I did that on purpose, I don't
doesn't-
have a problem
he
with
wants
that.
you to
I'm saying
testify truthfully.
I don't remember that. All right? So can I tell you that I did that on purpose? No, sir, I can't. Can I say that this happened by accident? No, sir, I can't. What I can say is I don't remember it, and that's not how I would normally, that's just not how I would normally, you know, that's just not.
This is getting
It's
to
not
the
something
fear.
I did. That's not a normal thing. So I don't know.
Okay. All right. That's fine. You
But-
won't concede to this jury that
No,
there was any
wait.
intention or purpose.
There was a but.
in
Let
you
him finish.
doing that at the hospital on the night of the boat wreck.
I'm saying I don't remember using that badge.
You didn't have to use it.
And I specifically
You flopped it
remember,
out your pocket.
you know, I'm sorry, go ahead, you can answer
You
that.
specifically remember what?
That, like, when I went into
I
the
permit you to
room
ask
with the
me
kids,
questions,
did I
Creighton.
pull my badge out? And I know that I did not do that.
You didn't
No,
have
'cause
to.
It was on your pocket like that, correct?
It was on your pocket.
It's on my pocket like that right then.
Did you use that to get into areas that shouldn't be accessed by non-official personnel?
Yep. Like the hospital rooms of other kids.
Absolutely not. I mean, there was nowhere that I went that, that was not truly public domain.
Really? Like other people's
I mean,
hospital
basically,
rooms?
the places that I went to were, when I got there, I went to Paw Paw. When I left Paw Paw, I went to Morgan Dowdy, who was like a daughter to Maggie and I, had dated Paul for a long time. And I went to Morgan. Morgan had an injury to her hand that was bad, and she was very upset about Mallory. And they were working on her, so I left her room. I went back to Paw Paw. At some point in time, I noted I went to Connor's room, and I believe those are the only rooms I went to. But again, I can't tell you that with certainty.
While you were wearing that badge like that, did you tell any of the kids who were in the boat wreck not to cooperate with law enforcement?
I never told anybody not to cooperate with law enforcement, whether I had a badge hanging out my pants,
This is going to come up
didn't
in
have a
rebuttal.
badge.
Okay.
Any point in time did I tell anybody, don't cooperate with law
They're going to bring in
enforcement.
rebuttal witnesses
Did
to
you become
litigate
aware
this.
in March or April or May of 2021, shortly before June, that an investigation into the investigation of that night had begun,
I'm aware.
as well as your conduct?
Yes, I did learn of that.
He's been charged with obstruction. They're absolutely gonna bring in Connor Cook on rebuttal to rebut this. Very
I don't know the
interesting.
status of that investigation, being that I've been charged with so many things and haven't been charged with that. I'm assuming that there may not be charges.
Whether or not you were aware that that had begun in the spring of 2021.
Yes, sir. I was aware. Well, at some point in time, I became aware of it. Was that the spring? Was it, February, March, April? I know it was after. I know it was after that night, and it was before June 7th.
Before June 7th.
I'm pretty sure that I already knew that.
Did
On June the 7th.
You mentioned Andy Strickland. Do you know what happened to him?
Do I know what happened to him when?
How he lost his job
Oh,
as sheriff?
I believe that when he was charged, I don't know if he resigned or he was suspended.
charged with what?
Do you remember if that was a few months prior to you becoming aware of an investigation into the investigation of this boat case, including you?
Do I know what now?
Andy Strickland
His
Was
friend.
charged and lost his job. Was that a few months prior to you becoming aware of the investigation into this incident that's on the screen?
A few months prior? I don't really know this for a fact, but I believe, as I'm sitting here
If you
today,
don't know it for a fact,
I
you don't have
believe that
foundation.
Andy was charged back in the fall. And like I said, we learned about when, I've testified about when I understood there was an investigation into whether or not I was acting in a public manner, or whatever it was y'all were
justice way?
investigating. Public corruption or that. So
Or something.
if it was a couple of months, if it was a month or two when Andy Strickland got charged, then if you showed me that, I'd be surprised, because I think he was charged before that.
All right. But this was a friend of yours, correct? The guy who you asked if you could put lights in your car in a private vehicle, correct?
Well,
When
I
you're
mean,
testifying
Andy-
about your
yeah, I
friend,
considered Andy a friend. I
yourself,
considered TC a friend, and I
public
considered Tom
corruption,
Carter a friend.
it's
All
probably
of whom
bad.
I asked if I could put lights. in the
you,
vehicle.
Andy Strickland,
All right.
and public
And-
corruption.
So yes, sir. I mean, I
Coming out of your
considered
mouth is
Andy a
not great.
friend.
Would you at least agree with me that in at least the fall of 2020,
We
your
binged.
friend Andy Strickland
Thanks.
was
almost at
indicted and lost his
700,000.
job for a financial and corruption investigation.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Sorry.
Response.
Your Honor, I think there's a link between his knowledge of that and what he's admitted that there was an investigation going on in the months prior to the murders.
Anything further?
I mean, the question is, something about Andy Strickland being indicted? I just don't see the relevance, Your Honor.
I sustain the objection.
Yeah, he can rephrase it. The indictment's not the thing. The indictment's not the fact.
We can at least agree that you were aware prior to the murders that there was this investigation, correct? The one on the screen. The one related to the boat, the investigation into the boat case.
He's already said the words public corruption.
Was I aware that y'all had started an investigation into what I did in the hospital
Yes.
prior to the June the 7th?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe that to be correct.
All right.
Okay.
And if it wasn't before that, it was shortly after it.
You testified that you've had a pill addiction for approximately 20 years, correct?
Oh, they're going to go
think
through
that's- I
everything
think that's about
before June 7th and after
And-
and get to June 7th last, I
So
think.
when did you start stealing money from clients? How long did it take
Great question.
before you started doing that?
I'm not sure when the first time I did that is.
You don't know?
Really?
I'm not
You haven't
actually
gone back and thought about
It's so
that?
prolific.
Sure, I've thought about it, but to be able to sit here, I mean, you got to understand, I've been in rehab and I've been in jail, and I don't have access.
He needs
Yeah.
records.
All my telephone calls were put on the media, so I haven't had a lot of phone access. I haven't had a lot of access, so
You don't
as we sit
remember.
here today, I cannot tell you the exact time. I don't deny that I
he's
did it,
mad
but
that
I
his
can't
jail
tell you
calls
the
are public?
exact time that I first did it.
And you told this jury that's the cause of your financial problems?
Oh, okay.
Did I say that
Your
Pills
opiate
was-
addiction was the cause of your financial problems?
So
it
he
was
can't
certainly a
remember
cause, yes,
A
sir.
cause, not the only cause though, correct?
because he doesn't have
I
access to
wouldn't
the
think it was the only
phone.
cause, but yeah, it was certainly a cause.
You recall testimony in this courtroom about how you had some land deals go bad around the time of the recession in 2008, 2009?
Sure.
And you recall testimony from your law partners in this courtroom that you had some big cases that they thought cured those issues, correct?
I heard them say that, yes, sir.
Do you disagree with that?
Do I disagree with what they thought? No, I mean, I don't have any
No, do you
reason
disagree if that was true?
that they thought, that my partners thought that, that I gotten past my financial difficulties. I have no reason to dispute that, Mr. Waters. I'm not
Was
trying to
that true?
frustrate
Was
you.
what they thought true?
That I was past my financial difficulties? Is that the question?
Yes, that's the question.
Was it true that I was past my financial difficulties? I mean, they were certainly better
I think some people do
after
think he's
that,
not
but,
guilty. I
mean,
do.
No, I don't think I was past them. No, sir.
Deborah, I think he's
What
trying
was
to
the
see if
first
there's a
big case
trap
after the recession
and
that
not
you had?
answer.
Mr. Waters, I can't tell you what the first big case was.
You remember
What-
the,
What date?
all right, well, let's go with the Pinckney case. Do you remember when that was?
I remember generally speaking when it was, yes, sir.
What year was that? 2011? Would you dispute that?
2011, when it ended?
When you got recoveries in that case?
I mean, if you're looking at something that tells me that, I have no reason to dispute that, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
He's
but
asking
that's
you to
certainly in the
remember.
timeframe.
Oh my God.
It's fine, Mr. Murdaugh. We'll go through it. Let's do it.
Mr. Waters, like I said, I take you at that. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Oh no, he's just being dramatic now,
I
Alec.
don't have a reason to dispute that.
Nope, nope. He wants to pull out the papers. He wants to pull out all the papers to make the jury think that's all the bad shit you've done. No, he's having a moment with props. So you leave him be. He's just gonna ask. He's gonna pull it all out. But I think what he did at the hospital Him walking around with a badge hanging out of his pants and the rest of it
Evidence
talks
states
about the crime scene.
331. Let's go with, actually, 332, 333, and 334. Do you recognize those documents? Just generally, do you recognize them?
I do.
All right, and just generally, what are those? Those are disbursement sheets. Can I have them back, please?
Yes, sir. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
Just trying to see which ones. I mean, there's some things about it that I'm curious about, but
Yeah, we'll
you
talk
ask
about
some
that.
questions.
We'll talk about that.
But you asked the questions. I'm curious, but you go ahead and ask the questions.
Let's talk about, let's start with Natasha Thomas. Do you remember her?
I do.
How old was she when she became your client?
I'm not sure. She was young.
She was a teenager?
I'm not sure, but I know she was young.
She was underage, correct?
Yes, she was underage. I do believe that.
All right.
In fact, I know that.
And can you tell me what she was injured in this wreck with, in an automobile wreck, correct?
Yes,
And the company Michelin, that was one of the defendants for an alleged tire issue, is that correct?
that is correct.
All right. And do you remember how much Natasha Thomas got in that particular case? And I can show it to you on 334. Do you remember how much she got?
As a gross settlement, I believe it shows
Yeah.
$2 million.
$2 million. All right. And how much were your or PMPD's fees that would be attributed to you in that, out of that $2 million?
$800,000.
$800,000.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir. All right. And so that would be $800,000 in fees that would get attributed to you. That has nothing to do with the money that you subsequently stole from that teenager,
Nope.
correct?
The $800,000 is different from money that I stole?
Yes.
That's correct.
All right. So you got $800,000 attributed to you with the firm, but that was not enough. You also stole money from that teenager. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
I
When you
think
did
his
that, did you sit
answering
down with her
these
much as you sat down with this
clearly-
jury and explained to her what was going on while you were stealing her money?
Oh,
That would be the normal process, but
Oh.
I certainly don't remember specifically doing that.
did
That
you
would be
sit
the normal
down,
process, correct?
look her in
It
the
would be-
face?
It may be a little different with a teenager, but certainly, I mean,
You looked these people in the
You would
face
sit
while you were
down with them
stealing.
across the table and go
Good
through
line
these
of questioning.
documents, correct?
Good line of questioning.
if that would not be abnormal, yes, sir.
All right. And then you
That
would
makes
try,
a
you
good
would
point.
explain to them what was going on and how they were getting everything they were entitled to, correct?
If I was the one doing it, yes, sir.
And you would look them in the eye while you did that, correct?
You would look
It
them in the
wouldn't be
eye
unusual for me to look them in the eye.
and
While you were
lie.
doing some fast talking to a teenager, correct?
I certainly was not telling her the truth. I don't know if I was talking fast or slow, but I wasn't
Sir,
telling the truth.
you know what
Well,
he
you
means.
ultimately convinced her that there was nothing amiss here, right? While you were stealing her money, correct?
I don't know if I convinced her that nothing was amiss or I misled her, but I admit candidly in all of these cases, Mr. Waters, that I took money that was not mine and I shouldn't have done it.
No, the victim wouldn't have gotten
I hate
1.2
the fact that I
million.
did it.
He would have taken
I'm
his
embarrassed by it.
fees.
I'm embarrassed for my son. I'm embarrassed for my family. And I don't dispute that I did it.
I understand that. But
And
you
so-
understand that we have to ask
He would have
about
taken
these
his
things because we've
fees,
heard
then
about
costs.
it in a
What's left
very
to the client is
academic
less.
paperwork manner, but every single one of these, you had to sit down and look somebody in the eye,
Like you looked this jury in the eye.
convince them that you were on their side when you were not, correct? That's what you did in every single one of these.
That's the point.
I mean, every time,
Answer my question, yes or no, and then you can explain. I'll let you explain all day long.
well, I mean, no, sir, that may or may not be true. And Mr. Waters, just to try to get through this quicker, I
I
admit,
know you want to get through it
Nothing.
quicker, but we're not.
Nothing's-
So answer the question. please.
Nothing's going quickly.
what I admit is that I misled them, I did wrong, and that I stole their money. Now, this is something, what's the date on that one?
You did, He's trying to get to the point that
Well, you
he
can
could
tell me.
lie to his
I trust you
clients.
to tell me accurately.
He could lie to his clients as easily as he could lie to the jury. That's what he's trying to get to.
I'll let you take a look at it.
That's what he's getting to. And that is a
I'm
powerful
just
line of
looking at the date
questioning.
of a check, so that's December 20, so that goes, 2011. So that gives us
2011.
a ballpark. So that's 12 years ago. For me to sit here and tell you specifically that I remember sitting down and talking with Natasha Thomas, I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you, and I can tell you that I didn't do right by Natasha Thomas. I took money from Natasha Thomas that didn't belong to me, and I was wrong for doing that.
And if the
I
jury
admit that.
believes that he's being truthful about this, they will believe that he's being
Mr.
truthful
Murdaugh,
about
but
not
you would
killing
like for it
them.
just to be as simple as that, just to say, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I stole money, and have that
And
be the end of
that's-
it. But in every single one of
that's
these cases,
Where Creighton has to circle it
Comment, Your
back
Honor.
around.
you just testified that you would like to just admit that. And make this quick, correct? Isn't that what you said? Isn't that what you implied?
No, sir, Mr. Waters.
That's exactly what he said.
You have charged me with murdering my wife and my son, and I have sat here for all these weeks listening to all this financial stuff that I did wrong, that I'm embarrassed by. I'm happy to talk to you about as much of that as you want to talk about. I'm required
do
to talk
that.
about it as much as you want to talk about it. But the fact is I cannot specifically remember sitting down, the details that you're asking me for, I can't tell you, but what I can tell you is that in all these financial situations, I stole money that was not my money. I misled people that I shouldn't have misled, and I did wrong. I can tell you that. And I may be able to tell you specifically, in some instances, what I did or didn't do.
All right, well, good, well, we'll do that. But the point that I'm asking you is, it's not just as simple as some paperwork. You had to sit down and deal with these people and convince them
Creighton
that
is
you were
trying to make
telling them
that
the truth
point.
in order to steal this money, correct?
That may not be true, because in some situations, I may not have had to do that. They may have just trusted me to do it.
Okay.
So that's my point is, I misled them. There's no question about that. But did I sit down in each particular instance and
Look them in the eye. He's
like
disputing
you're
that.
breaking it down step by step? I can't say that. I can say I did wrong, I stole money that wasn't mine, and I shouldn't have done it.
All right.
And it was terrible what I did.
Do you think it will
All right, let's
help the
look at
jury
States
with him
330.
admitting the wrongdoing?
This is,
Admitting the
Arthur
wrongdoing
Badger in the EPS case.
very clearly,
That's correct.
admitting the wrongdoing and denying the
Do you remember what the
murders.
total recovery was
Is that
in that
powerful
particular
to
case?
you?
There were multiple plaintiffs. Let me ask you that first. There were multiple
Because for
plaintiffs
some
in
it
that
might
case,
help.
correct?
Some of you are like yes, and some of you are like
And do you remember what
no.
the total recovery was in
Right?
that case?
Not
Hung jury in this
exactly,
chat
but
right
I mean, I know
now. I'm
generally-
believing him.
All right, was it $12 million? Would you disagree with that?
Is it $12 million? I mean, if you tell me it was $12 million, then I believe you, but I thought it was a little bit more than that.
All right. And if, ultimately, if you have multiple plaintiffs, how do you decide as the plaintiff's lawyer, or how does it work out that amounts of that total recovery get allocated to individual plaintiffs?
I mean, different cases are different ways.
Is it true that often the defense attorneys, the civil defense attorneys, will ask the plaintiff's attorneys how you want that allocated?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. Is that what happened in this case? In the Badger case?
I can't remember exactly how we came to that.
For him, I think this is the best way he can testify to this.
Do you remember?
Admit it clearly.
The defendant that had the
explain.
money that you ultimately recovered from, the vast majority. Do you remember?
Well, it was
Good
UPS,
testimony.
and I believe it was, I can't remember if it was corporate or if there was insurance, but it was certainly UPS was the major defendant.
Okay.
But I believe Arthur Badger was a defendant. I can't remember. I know UPS was.
Did you sit down with him and explain this paperwork that you were using to steal his money?
I believe I did sit down with Arthur Badger.
And managed to convince him that nothing was amiss, while at the same time stealing money?
I believe I did.
And did you allocate millions of dollars to Arthur Badger personally while only telling him that his recovery was going to be around $300,000?
I believe that I did. Yes, sir.
And on this exhibit 3:30, sat down and looked him in the eye with all this stuff on here, and fast talked him past these figures so that he believed you and left thinking that you had done him right?
I would have, I
Did
I
that-
believe that I sat down with Arthur Badger, and I know that I misled Arthur Badger, and I'm sure at some point during that conversation that I looked him in the eye.
He wants
Going
to say
back
something
to,
else,
uh,
Creighton.
States 333.
But he did
Remember
say he's
Hakeem
embarrassed.
Pinckney? Do you remember him?
I do.
What happened to him?
It's powerful having Alec talk about his client.
He was injured in the
victims.
same wreck that Natasha Thomas was injured in.
Was he badly injured?
He was.
How badly injured was he?
Yes, I mean, he was terribly injured. He became I can't remember what level, but he was a quadriplegic.
You remember what the total recovery amount was for him?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
All right, well, let me show you States 333 and see what the total, if you recall, what the total recovery was in that case.
It looks like it was $10,245,000.
And that was for Hakeem, correct?
That's correct.
And how much of that was the attorney's fees that would have gone to PMPED that would have been attributable to you?
So far, this is Creighton's best cross. Really is.
$4,098,000.
$4 million in
$4 million
fees.
in legal fees that you would have gotten from this settlement, is that correct?
$4,098,000. Yes, sir.
And in the end, that wasn't enough for you, correct?
We know he stole.
Was that enough for you?
Was that enough for me in that case?
Yeah.
I mean,
Was over $4 million in legal fees that you received that would have been attributable to you through the law firm at the end of the year, whatever it worked out to be, but you would have been credited with over $4 million in fees for that. Is that correct?
that's correct.
These are the questions
And
I want to know
was
of Tom
that
Girardi,
enough for
too.
you?
Was that enough for me?
Or
Clearly
did you
not.
take more
Oh, no,
from?
I took monies from Hakeem Pinckney that did
Why?
not belong to me, that I should not have taken.
Been rendered a paraplegic.
That is his.
No, sir, he was a
set-
quadriplegic,
Quadriplegic.
unfortunately.
Thank you for correcting me.
That is his set
sir.
answer. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it. Why did you do it? It was is
Ultimately
what
take
Creighton's
money
getting
from
at.
his
He,
mother Pamela as well.
it wasn't enough for you. He never answers that. Notice.
I believe that I did.
And his mother stole from Hakeem Pinckney and his mother.
You remember how much money you took from Hakeem?
No, sir, not off the top of my head, I do not.
If I told you it was over $370,000, would you agree with that?
He's like, I don't know.
If that's what the records show, I don't dispute that.
Do you remember how much you took from the teenager Natasha Thomas in addition to your legal fees?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
If I told you it was over $350,000, would you agree with that?
I don't dispute it.
Do you remember how much you took from Arthur Badger?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
If it was over $1.3 million, would you agree with that?
I don't dispute it.
I believe that he does not remember how much he took because he was taking so much. And yes, Chad, this goes to him disregarding everyone but himself. Those that were vulnerable, those that trusted him, those who he built lives alongside, including his law partners and his actual brothers. That's what all this is
Around
going
the time
towards.
that this was going on, did you have some
They
land
can't
deals
ask.
that were going
They
bad?
have to do all of this before the
That had
murders.
gone bad?
I think. I don't think we'll get to the murders till tomorrow.
Which,
2008, 2009, 2010, 2011?
I think those had happened a little bit before that, but I had some land deals that, you know, certainly had problems.
And that had something to do with the money you were taking as well, did it not?
I think the whole picture had
What
things
whole
to
picture?
do with me doing stuff I shouldn't have done. I mean, I would agree that, I mean, that certainly would have played some role in it.
Were you living a wealthy lifestyle?
A wealthy lifestyle? Probably. I mean, we were living whatever lifestyle, probably.
Would you characterize your lifestyle as wealthy?
You know, that's not how I would characterize it. but
Really?
Would you
I'm not
characterize
gonna-
it as wealthy?
I'm not going to take issue with it.
How would you characterize it then? I got questions. Don't move on. How would you characterize it then? I want to know what lifestyle I need to
Making
live.
more than $1 million a year?
Around what time?
2011.
Yes.
2012.
Yes.
What
And
is
you
the
were still stealing
average
money as well,
income
Yes.
where he lives?
Can we at
It's
least agree?
under
that
$100,000
that's
a
a lot
year?
of money?
Well, under $100,000 a year.
Over $1
Never
million?
mind, it's fine. Okay.
I think
Creighton's
there's
like-
no
Creighton's
question
just
that's a
moving
lot
on.
of money.
Okay, good. We can agree on that. That's a lot of money, correct? I feel like we're struggling here. Were you living a wealthy lifestyle?
Statement, Your Honor.
Were you living a wealthy lifestyle?
I just don't know what you mean by wealthy, you
Is
know?
this a hard question, Mr. Murdaugh?
Well,
Yes, it is.
It's hard for me to know exactly what you want, you know, and it depends.
It's hard
I
for me
was
to know what
spending
you
money
want.
that wasn't mine, that I shouldn't have. I think that, you know, we lived a lifestyle. I don't have an issue if you want to call it wealthy.
All right.
But you
You
do.
concede with me that not all of this money was going to pills at this point in time.
No,
All this stolen money.
no, I doubt that it was.
I doubt that it was.
And it was being used to support your wealthy lifestyle.
No, we say
Well-
lavish lifestyle, Creighton.
I haven't looked at all these documents to know exactly what was being spent where, but here's what I do know. I know that I was making a bunch of money, and I should have had more money than I did. And I know that I was spending a bunch of money on pills, and I know that, you know, I don't remember in 2011 if those I just can't remember those land deals, but, you know, if I spent money on other things, I don't dispute that either. I just haven't looked at the records.
I don't know where the money went, is what he's saying.
But you would at least concede that the money you were stealing was going to support your ever-expanding wealthy lifestyle. Would you concede
Lavish.
Did all of the money I stole,
that? Any of it, Mr. Murdaugh?
any of it? Yeah, I would certainly agree that there was money that didn't go to buy just pills.
All right, and you would
Okay.
concede that even though you were generating millions of dollars in fees, that was not enough for you? Would you concede that?
If by concede that, you mean was I also stealing money that I shouldn't have? Yes, sir, I agree with that. I've said that repeatedly.
You were making millions and still stealing. That's the point. That's where we're at.
plowers?
They were two young girls from Columbia.
They were underage when they became your clients?
Yes, sir.
Did they suffer a loss in their family as a result of an accident?
They did.
What loss did they suffer? Who died?
Their mother did.
And did you get a sizable recovery in the case, in that particular case related to that?
Yes, sir.
You remember how much that recovery was?
I don't.
Got any idea?
I know it was a significant
"Nah."
settlement. I know it was a very good settlement, but,
Millions of dollars?
oh yeah, it was millions of dollars. But whether it was
The way he casually says millions of
2 million,
dollars.
I know it was significant.
It's like,
I don't know if it was 8 figures, but I know it was a significant settlement.
All right. And was there a conservatorship for them because they were underage?
There was a conservatorship for them, but I don't think the fact that they were underage is why there was a conservatorship.
because you can put it in
You
trust.
don't think it was
too.
because, at least in part, they were underage when the settlement was received?
No, that's not what I remember.
Because
but
you can put it in trust.
For purposes of your thing, Mr. Waters, I agree there was a conservator appointed.
Well, what is your memory of why the conservator was appointed?
My memory is that the father, in this case, who was the beneficiary or a big beneficiary in this, and who was the PR of the mother's case, was an undesirable witness. And there was testimony that
Huh?
it was testimony that he had hit his wife. And it was clear, we felt like we didn't want him to be the face of the lawsuit. So we appointed a conservator
Who was that?
for that purpose, is
Who would-
why I believe we appointed a
Who was the
conservator.
conservator?
Okay, and who was that?
Corey Fleming?
That was Russell
Russell
Lafitte.
At
Lafitte?
Palmetto State Bank?
Yes, sir.
And after that, did you get Russell Lafitte to start loaning you money from the Plower Girls account that he was conservator for?
He's already been convicted,
He
so
loaned me money from the Plowler account. I don't know if I got him to do that.
Oh, you didn't talk to him about it? Y'all didn't talk about that at all?
No, we did talk about it. I mean,
I mean, there's emails to that effect. Are you disputing that to this jury?
Mr. Waters, I'm not disputing, I'm just telling you that
Creighton,
Russell Lafitte
there
gave
is
me a
no need for
loan
dramatics.
from
This is dramatic enough.
Plowlers. Your question was, did I get him to do that?
He's taking issue with the word
And I
get.
don't necessarily believe that to be accurate.
Well, who came up with the idea?
Russell
I
Lafitte was
don't
happy
know
to just
that
hand
they
out
just
everybody's
come up with
money,
an
it
idea.
seems.
There was, I think that Russell felt like that it was
Okay to
a
steal?
sound investment for those girls to charge me a higher interest rate when they weren't getting but so much interest somewhere else. So
What was
What?
that interest rate that y'all thought was such a good idea for these girls? Do you recall what it was?
I can't remember.
The reality is that you needed the money, and this was a convenient source to keep your massive cash flow going as early as 2011, 2012. Isn't that correct?
Well, this was a loan, yes, sir. But exactly why it came from them versus the bank,
Your clients can't loan you money.
I can't tell you the
Out
details
of a
without looking at all
conservatorship
that.
account?
I can't tell you that off the top of my head.
And despite all you were earning, you would even send Russell emails saying, hey, transfer over $75,000 from the Plower account into my account, correct? You remember emails to that effect that you would have to him?
Do I remember an email to that effect? No, I don't remember
Would you
that, but
dispute that there were emails to that effect?
not if you say there were, Mr. Waters. I don't dispute that. I don't dispute any of this, that I took money that didn't belong to me, that I misled people.
I know
that
that you want
were-
the answer to be that simple. That's not what I'm at. We
It's
agree
not
on
that
that.
simple.
We've agreed on that.
Well, no, sir, I don't necessarily want the answer to be simple. I just want
You to move
everybody
on.
to understand, I do not dispute that I stole money that was not my money, that I misled people.
He wants it to move
To
on.
do that I misled people that
Creighton's not moving
trusted
on.
me to do that. And that what I did was terrible. I don't dispute that. It's just the way you're asking these questions, and, you know, I mean, there's some things in there that I do take issue with.
Okay. Which part of what I just asked you about the pliers do you take issue with? You take issue that y'all didn't conspire to do that, you and Russell? You take
Yes.
issue with that? You take issue with that? Okay.
I can tell you that Russell Lafitte never conspired with me to do anything. Whatever was
What?
done was done by me.
Okay. So you told the Plower girls that you were borrowing money from their account? That,
No, I don't know, I don't know that I told
tell
them that.
Russell to tell them?
I don't recall. I don't believe so.
He gave
but
you
I
money
don't-
he shouldn't
I
have.
can't sit here and tell you what I told him however many years ago.
Did you tell Russell he could borrow money from that account too?
I don't remember having any discussion with him about him borrowing money.
Was the supposed interest rate you were paying far lower than anything you could have gotten anywhere else?
I don't even know what
You don't
interest
even
rate
know?
I was paying.
One
But I
thing's
w-
clear, you never told this to the Plower girls, did you?
I would have thought the interest rate that I was paying was a little bit more than what a bank loan would have been, but I don't know that. I don't know that to be, I don't know what the interest rate was, so I don't know that for sure.
When you stole the Badger money, how much did you steal from Arthur Badger that we talked about before in the UPS case?
I don't remember the exact amount.
Over $1.3 million, would you dispute that?
I don't dispute that.
And that was in addition to the $1.2 million in attorney's fees for his case alone that would have been attributed to you through the firm?
What I stole from Arthur Badger
Let me ask you this.
inappropriately was in addition to any fees that I legitimately earned. I shouldn't have stole the money from Arthur Badger. I misled him, and I was wrong.
Did you speak with Russell Lafitte once you stole this money from Arthur Badger about structuring that $1.3 million that you stole in a manner so it appeared to be payments to the Plyler account? You understand the question?
No, sir. Say that again.
Did you have any conversations with Russell Lafitte about structuring this $1.3 million into multiple payments and then applying it to the Plyler account?
I've heard the testimony, and I've seen some of
I'm
those
asking
records.
if you did. Did you have any conversations with Russell about that?
I had to.
Okay,
I had to have.
all right. You even asked him to recut the check, correct? To have Jeannie recut the check.
Yep.
I've seen, I believe, an email or a text to that effect.
So you don't dispute that?
No, I don't dispute that. What I dispute is if you're insinuating in any way, this was stuff that I did.
He's trying to figure
I
out.
mean, this stuff that
He's trying to figure
I
out
did
where
these
Creighton's
things wrong.
going.
Russell Lafitte didn't do anything.
He's trying to outfox Creighton.
I'm not here to
And-
talk
and
about
what-
that. I'm just talking about
but-
what went on.
And I know, but you keep talking about what I did with Russell Lafitte, and what I want to let you know is that I did this.
I know.
And I'm the
Russell
one
has
that
been
took
convicted.
people's money that I shouldn't have taken.
Russell's pending
and that Russell
sentencing.
Lafitte was not involved in helping me do that.
Yeah, okay.
Knowingly.
question.
If he did it without knowing it.
All right, so you send him an email and then ask him to recut the check and have the check made out to various
But you
amounts
can't
short of
even
that,
distribute
and
money
then
from those
applied
kinds of
those over
accounts
time to get
properly.
the illusion of payments to the Plyler account. Is that correct?
Mr.
Is
Waters,
that correct?
I don't know, but I'll tell you this. I
you don't
don't
know.
dispute. I
He
don't
wants Creighton to
dispute
move on.
what's in those emails
Creighton's
as
not
far
gonna
as,
move
or
on.
text, as far as what I told Russell, and as far as what I did to again, take money that didn't belong to me, that wasn't mine, and that I was wrong for taking. It's just the specifics of that you want me to give you details on, and I can't do that. I do not dispute what's in those texts or emails.
And did you steal that Badger money because you had to pay back the Plyler girls' money before they turned
Just like
18
Tom
and reached the
Girardi.
age of majority? And Russell would then have to be held to account for that money that he
Just
had
like
loaned
Tom
to himself
Girardi.
and to you.
First off, I don't know anything about any money that Russell loaned to himself. I only know about what he loaned to me. And I don't specifically,
gonna
I don't
switch feet so we
believe
can
that
see the
me
lawyers.
stealing our
Nope, give me a second.
back a loan, or there being some time pressure to pay back a loan that he gave me on the Plyler conservatorship. You don't remember that? No, and I'm not saying that that didn't happen. I'm saying that I don't remember, that's not the way I remember it, and I don't remember it.
Did you ultimately borrow $1 million roughly from the Plyler girls without their knowledge?
$1
Does that
million?
sound right? About $1 million in total?
If you tell me that's the number, I mean, that surprises me, but I don't dispute what's in the records, but I didn't believe I had a loan for, are you saying $1 million? I didn't believe that I had a loan. Mr. Waters,
They're using
if
loaned
that's what the
versus
records say, I don't
taken
dispute it.
differently.
That's not what I thought.
Creighton's saying
I didn't
stole.
think I had a $1 million
Alec's
loan
saying
from them.
loaned. Alec is are you using
But
loaned and stole
if that's what the
synonymously
records
right
say,
now?
I don't dispute that. But I can tell you this, if I had $1 million loan from them,
That's what Jeannie Seconder said. Jeannie
I
Seconder
don't
said he had a
remember that. And
photographic memory.
I may be confusing it with what a loan from the bank. But again, if that's what's in the records, I don't dispute it.
So you have no memory whatsoever, and so for all you know, it's just a coincidence that the Plowlers were about to turn 18 when you stole this Badger money and you applied a significant amount of it
Just
to pay that
like
off before they
Girardi,
turned 18. You don't have any
taking
memory.
from one client to pay
Now, I
another
can tell you
client.
that was never.
to keep it going.
That was never an issue or motivation for me, again,
I do think that Alec is doing well
taking
on cross.
Arthur Badger's money that I shouldn't have taken.
He's got a line that he
It
wants to
didn't
say.
belong to me.
Shouldn't have
And that
taken.
I was wrong for. I don't remember a loan from the Plyler conservatorship as being motivation for that.
I don't think that's a loan.
So for all you can remember, it's just a coincidence.
Why I stole Arthur Badger's money, just being a
No, why you
coincidence?
applied it to the Plyler loans right before they turned 18.
No, I'm not saying is a coincidence or not a coincidence. What I'm saying is, I don't remember that.
Okay.
And so I don't remember that being the motivation. If it was, I didn't know I had $1 million loan from the Plyler conservatorship, at least as I sit here today. But, you know, I would have known I had a loan from somewhere.
I don't think the word
and
loan means
if
what
I
you think
took
it means.
Arthur Badger's money and applied it to that, I mean, again, I stole money that didn't belong to me. I misled Arthur Badger to take that money, and I was wrong.
How many times have you practiced that answer before your testimony today? Because
I've
keep
never-
giving the same one over and over again.
I've never practiced that answer, but you keep asking me these questions, and
You keep asking the
using
same
that
question,
answer.
Creighton. I'm going to keep giving you the same answer.
It states 321. You recognize generally that document.
He's like, same question, same answer, sir.
I do.
And what is that?
It's so weird that he's standing right next
This
to
is the
him.
disbursement sheet on the Deon Martin case.
What happened to Deion Martin?
He got in a wreck.
Do you know his family
When he got in the wreck,
prior to him getting in the wreck?
I knew who his family was, but prior to getting in the wreck, but after he got in this wreck, I became very close with his family.
Came very close with his family. And Deion suffered some pretty severe injuries, correct?
Deon was hurt bad, yes.
Including an injury to his head.
You know, I heard you say that the other day. I don't specifically remember Deon having a head injury. I believe Deon had more orthopedic injuries, but he may have had some injury to his head.
You met with him on a number of occasions?
Yes, I met with him on a number of occasions.
Met with his parents on a number of occasions?
About Deon,
About the case, while the case was going on.
I don't know if I met with his parents about Deon's case, but I know I met with Deon, and I may have met with his parents, if they say that.
He just doesn't
I
remember.
mean, his
You
dad's one of
became-
the most honorable fellows that I know. If he says I met with him, I certainly believe that.
But you said you became close with them, correct?
Yet you were questioning Miss Shelley.
Close
Became-
with the parents?
You're not questioning people that didn't question you. Is that what I'm getting?
I consider Deon's, yes, I think the world of his dad and his mom and Deon.
What was the recovery that was obtained in Deion's case?
Yeah, it is 5:20.
Let's see.
So they're going to wrap this up
Looks
soon.
like,
We're going to be on cross
recovery.
tomorrow.
$2 million. Actually, this is, let's see, I know it was $2 million, but I believe the recovery
Y'all,
was less than $2
We got over
million.
50,000 of you here. Have you subscribed? Just going to ask. If you haven't, maybe now's the time.
I
maybe
believe
now's the time to
recovery
just-
was less than $2 million. I believe that I said it was $2 million.
I promise I won't call it a loan of a subscription.
I can't remember exactly what the recovery is, but I know it was less than $2 million, and I know that I misstated it as $2 million.
So you falsified the paperwork, correct?
I think they wanted to get this stuff out of the way and ask about the murder
It
tomorrow.
appears that I
Yep.
put inaccurate information
That's what I
on the
think.
paperwork.
Oh,
Yes,
y'all, I
sir.
can see you subscribing.
You put inaccurate information. You
Thank you.
falsified it, right?
If you
I
like
pulled up,
that
I
word,
pulled up
yes,
the
sir.
ticker.
All right.
Y'all are making it
And
tick.
That's that right there where you put that $500,000 on there, correct? Right. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I have the Elmo, please?
Let's have the
Sorry, Mr.
Elmo.
Waters, what was the question?
Bring the Elmo!
Let's get the Elmo out and then I'll show you.
Creighton at some point has to move on.
Right
He's
there,
made
that's
the point.
$500,000 that you falsified this document with.
Made
is
the
that
point
correct?
well, but it's time.
Where it says structured annuity directly to
move
Michael
on.
Gunn.
Yeah, that looks like one place that
The jury has heard this testimony so
yes,
much.
why did I?
Yeah, why'd you put
Why
that
did I-
500,000? What was your purpose in doing that?
It appears that I was stealing his money, $500,000.
Were you not inflating your fees with that one?
I mean,
You don't remember?
I know that I inflated the fees like I just talked about, but I believe go back to that top of that thing.
So
I
inflated
believe
the
what
fees and
I must
stole?
have done with the structured annuity is I had that $500,000 check, and I must have had that
I
made
think
to,
I think they're at the end of the
I must have
day.
had that made to forge
They can't get into the murder
As you've
stuff
heard,
now. They've got to wrap this up
to
today.
steal that money from Dion Martin
They've got to wrap this up today.
Bottom,
that I shouldn't have.
is that your signature down there?
It is.
Is that Dion Martin's signature on the other side?
It,
You dispute that?
no, I don't dispute that.
We're over 697,000 subs.
So
So
you
how
would've sat
far
down
away
with
from
Dion
700
Martin?
are we? Not far.
This document with him and convinced him that there was nothing to miss
We're a
here?
couple thousand away.
You know, again, I don't know if I went over the document with him or not, but I certainly misled Dion Martin. I certainly lied to Dion Martin. I certainly took money from Dion Martin that did not belong to me, and I shouldn't have done it.
I don't know if he needs to
You
go
don't
client by
specifically remember
client.
talking to Dion. There was nothing in you that causes you to remember talking with Dion, sitting there with this document in front of him, as you looked him in the eye, knowing that you were lying to him the whole time. You don't even remember that? Nothing in you that causes you to remember that?
To specifically remember, I'm not sure that I did sit down with Dion Martin. But I certainly, Mr. Waters, I misled Dion Martin. I lied to Dion Martin. I took Dion Martin's money when I shouldn't have.
Well, let me ask you this. Of all the people on here, all these exhibits, do you have any independent recollection of a time where you sat down and looked that person in the eye and you were lying to them and convincing them that everything was okay while you stole their money? Do you remember it?
Creighton's
even well?
moving, so he won't look at the jury, so he'll look at him.
I'm
Interesting.
sure I did.
Okay, well, tell us about one.
Tell us about your lying,
I mean, you have
Alec.
to show me, you have to give me,
I'm asking you if you remember one time where you're sitting there in your heart, looking somebody in the eye, knowing you're stealing from them, and you remember it.
I remember stealing from people, I remember lying to people, and I remember misleading people. For me to tell you that I sat down with each one of these people,
I'm asking you to tell me about just one
Is
conversation.
Creighton going to argue he just doesn't
One
remember
time
the
where you
crimes he's
recall
committed?
looking somebody in the eye and convincing
Don't remember
them
doing it.
with your lies that nothing was amiss.
I don't remember
One
the
conversation.
part
there
of
were
it.
plenty of conversations where I looked people in the eye and I lied to them. There were plenty of times where I took money that I shouldn't have taken. There were plenty of times where I stole money. For me to sit and tell you a specific time that I sat down with a specific document,
Ask
and
him about
what
Tony
exactly was
Satterfield,
said.
and then move on.
If you ask me questions, but I can't remember sitting down with Dion on a.
They certainly remember it, don't they, Mr. Murdaugh?
I don't know if they do or not, but I would assume so.
But you can't tell us one time where it just sticks out in your memory where you're like,
He's trying to get to the
"Well,
blind
fast one right
spots.
now."
Oh, no.
Or anything, whatever reaction you had. You
Oh,
can't
no.
remember a single one?
No, sir, that's not correct. I can remember a lot of times where I lied to my clients, I misled my clients, and I stole money from my clients. in conversations. But for me to sit and tell you that I had a conversation about this particular document, I don't dispute it.
He just doesn't remember it.
You've said that 100 times, haven't you?
He has said that 100
You can't recall
times.
for this jury one of these people looking them in the eye while you lied to them. You can't recall a single one. I've asked you this 3 times now.
No, it's
I
way
promise
more than
you.
that.
Your Honor, asked and answered 3 times.
Here you go, Mr. Waters.
It is a murder trial.
isn't it, Mr. Murdaugh?
I'm sorry that I'm laughing. I'm sorry.
I don't know if your point's made or not, but here's
You don't know that either, do you?
here's.
I don't know what either,
will say
Creighton. Nobody
again.
knows if your point's been made at this
I
point.
remember lying to clients of mine. I did it on more than one occasion. I took their money when I shouldn't have taken it. I'm sure that I looked them in the eye. I'm sure that I misled them. But I can't tell you exactly when those occurred 12 years ago, is the only point. I don't dispute that they occurred. I don't dispute that everything about what I did was wrong. But I can't sit and tell you the specific details that you're
And that's
wanting me
Creighton's
to
point.
give
Creighton's
you.
going to say, and you can't tell us the specific details of June
Hold it up each
7th.
time you want to say that, couldn't you, Mr. Murdaugh?
If
That is argumentative.
Objection is overruled.
if that's what you
Nah,
want
it's
to do,
argumentative.
Mr. Waters, but I'm trying to answer your question.
All right. These were real people you were dealing with, right?
Absolutely. They were,
I
you know
I
what?
know you want to give that answer, but these were real people, aren't they?
Nah, they're very real people. And you know what one of the saddest parts of this whole thing is, you know, they're people that I still care about. And
You
I
hurt
did them
people
this
you
way.
care about. You did them this way. What did you just say? What did you just say?
You know, that's what I was meaning.
I
in
did
that
them this
text
way. That exact
That you made
language.
an issue about to Annette Griswold. And it was a lot talking about my partners, but it was a lot talking about these people. I mean, I know the people that I did
boy.
wrong and that
He
I
doesn't
hurt,
even know what he
that I
said.
stole from. I mean, they're people that I think a lot of. And,
They didn't know.
hang on, I want to say one more thing.
Oh, sure you do.
And there's no question that the actions that I did, the things that I did wrong, hurt a lot of the people that I care about the most. And I did a lot of damage. And I wreaked a lot of havoc. That
A lot of
I'm,
damage and wreaked a lot of havoc, I hear you.
He's
There's
like,
no
but I'm not a
question about
murderer.
Yeah,
He's like,
what's been marked as states
he's like, but I'm not a
315,
murderer.
recognize this.
So you hurt everyone. You said you never hurt Maggie and Paul, but you did hurt them. Even if you didn't shoot them, he's not going to ask that.
do.
But I did them.
Which case is this?
I'm going to go back to that. I did them.
this is
Slip.
Elise Mallory.
And what
I
happened
did
in
them this
case?
way. That's his vernacular. Not they did them that way.
I stole
I
her
did
money.
them that way.
What happened, though, with the underlying
I don't know
case?
if
Can you tell the
Creighton
jury that? Do you
caught
remember
that.
I believe it was Miss Taylor, Miss Mallory's. I believe it was her daughter. It might have been her granddaughter, but I believe it was her daughter. Was in a wreck
Did she die?
and she got killed.
And Miss Mallory came to you for help?
She did.
You remember that one
I
at
do.
all?
I remember.
Okay, we remember one now.
Oh no, Mr. Waters, I remember all of these people.
Okay.
He just
It's
doesn't
not that
remember
I
the
don't remember them.
conversations.
You're just asking me details about conversations.
Okay, great.
I can promise you, I remember all of these people that I did wrong.
Right, and you stole all of the money, didn't you? In
I,
this
s-
case?
I s- I stole all of the money, most of the money that I've been accused of stealing, I stole.
No, I mean, you stole every single dime of the recovery. She didn't get one dime, isn't that right?
That's right.
I have to look at the records, but if
You
that's.
credited yourself with legal fees, and then you stole all the rest of the money, correct?
I don't dispute that.
All right.
If you
Tell
let
me
see
about, first of all, tell me about Miss Mallory. So she lost her daughter, correct? Is that correct?
that is correct.
And she came to you
It
for
was a
help, is
daughter,
that
a
correct?
granddaughter, but
All right,
one.
all right. And she came to you for help, correct?
Yes, sir, I agree with you on that.
Creighton,
Very, very sweet lady, correct?
Wrap it up,
Very
Creighton.
sweet lady.
All right. Tell me about your conversation when you looked her in the eye and lied to her while you were stealing every dime of the money.
This is a perfect example, Mr. Waters. I stole her money. I did her wrong, but I don't even believe that Elise Mallory was there when I stole that money. If you look at that disbursement sheet, I don't even believe I ever showed that to her.
Okay. But you don't remember having any conversations with her when you lied with her about this case while you were stealing all her money?
I don't think I did in this case. I don't think I had any meetings with her. I think I stole her money, and I don't believe that I had a meeting with her.
See, again, you can't tell us one conversation you had with any of these people when you looked them in the eye and convinced them that you were doing them right, that you were telling the truth.
That's not true, Mr. Waters. I remember a lot of those conversations. I remember a
Wait,
lot
you
of them.
said you didn't. You just said you didn't.
Testified, you remember a lot of them. I've been asking you now for the past 10 minutes to tell me about one of them.
Oh my God.
It's stuck in your heart,
There are a lot of
stuck in your brain.
There are a lot of conversations I had where I misled my clients and I stole their money, where they trusted me. And I remember them.
Okay. So,
But you keep-
can you tell me one? Tell me how it went down, what you said, how you convinced them.
Here comes
how
the
you
ask
looked
and
them in the
answer.
eye, how you made them believe, how you used your skills as a trial lawyer to convince them.
Objection
Can you just tell me about
compound.
one of those? What was going through your head when you did it?
Objection
Your Honor,
asked and
objection
answered.
under Rule 403. We've been going over and over and over this.
For the last 10 minutes.
Objection is overruled.
But Alec just said,
What's your
that's not
question,
what I
Mr.
said. Let's take a break.
Can
It's
you tell me
5:30.
about one?
Let's be done
of
for the day.
Conversations you had with all of these people. Just one.
I can
where
tell you-
what was
excuse
going
me.
through your head and how it went down when you sat there and looked them
How
in
did
the
you
eye
steal from
and
them,
convinced
Alec?
them that you were doing them right while you were lying to them and stealing their money.
Yes, sir. I had a lot of conversations with a lot of my clients that I cared about. And so I will tell you that I had conversations with them where I misled them and I lied to them and I took their money. And that was a number of times.
Okay.
But you're asking me,
Just one specific one, Mr. Murdaugh?
That's it. That's what he's asking.
every single one of these clients, I would have had conversations with at some
It's
point.
fine, it's
But
fine.
this particular, like, Mr. Waters, that disbursement sheet,
Fuck.
I didn't have, there was never a sit-down with Miss Mallory about the dispersing the money.
You don't recall talking to her about the status of her case and telling her lies and convincing her that you were on her side. You don't remember that.
No, I definitely remember that, but that's not what you
Tell me
asked
about
me. I had numerous conversations with Miss Mallory, about this case. But the fact is you were asking me about me sitting down with this disbursement sheet, looking her in the eye and convincing her. And I'm telling you that didn't happen in this case. Now, I had a lot of conversations with her where I misled her, Mr. Waters, where I lied to her
Tell me about one.
about
Tell me how it went
He
down.
doesn't remember what he said.
We're going to recess
Yep.
for today.
Thank you, Judge.
At 9:30
Thank
tomorrow
you,
morning.
Judge
Everyone
Newman.
remain seated while the jury leaves.
Thank you, Judge Newman. You're a hero among men.
We'll see you all 9:30 tomorrow morning.
He's releasing the jury. The bailiff is not happy that the audience keeps getting up when the jury gets up. They want the court to stay in order just in case the judge has anything else to say to the attorneys. We'll see if he does. Then we're going to answer some questions. Woo! Cross-examination. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. Y'all, we fixed the Leonard alert again. If
Before we
you want to try to break it again.
From the state, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Your Honor, we have two experts we brought in, basically one of them last night and another one came in today from out of
That's on you for putting your client on the
Not
stand.
complicated, one's a pathologist.
You want to
Testimony
break in the
has-
client's
has
testimony?
take 30 to 45 minutes.
No.
I don't believe there's going to be much cross. The other one is a crime scene analyst who's testifying not about the whole crime scene, but specifically based on the pathologist testimony about what happened in the feed room. Total, they should not take more than 2.5 hours. I wonder,
No.
since this apparently is going to go on for a while, if we might put them up tomorrow.
If I'm Creighton, I would say
either
no.
First thing in the morning, or at the morning break, that's what Mr. Waters likes to do, and get them out of here. Because I believe his
If I'm
cross
Creighton, I would
probably
say no.
Monday anyway at the rate we're going.
Nope. If I'm Creighton, I say no. No way.
It's just an accommodation, they're not controversial, they're not gonna.
It doesn't matter.
opine
The defendant's
who
on the
killed
stand.
who,
Absolutely
when, and
not.
how. Just the mechanics of what happened.
Absolutely not. Boot, you should have
What's
put
that
them all on.
Your Honor, and I
No.
think the defense would have to concede. I've been very as accommodating as I can throughout this. but
Cannot
I do not
accommodate
want to
this.
interrupt my cross.
No, you cannot. No, you cannot.
They took a very long time today, and the state's entitled to the state
Yes, they are.
consideration without interruption.
Yes, they are.
Can you project how many more hours you have?
Well, I'm actually.
Depends on the
Didn't think
defendant.
it would take this long to get this far, but I think I've got some more financial to move through, and then we'll get to the other evidence. So
4 hours, 6
I'm
hours?
so bad at that, Your Honor. 3, 4,
Same.
something like that. And if that's out at the outside.
So perhaps tomorrow afternoon we could
Your Honor,
get
obviously,
to 1 or 2.
again, we could probably do this fairly quickly if Your Honor, just leave that door open. I'm going to keep them here.
You can't
But if I have
force
to
the
keep them here
state to
open,
do
then
it.
The financial impact of that is huge.
I understand the dilemma, but I'm not going
You-
to require the state to
No.
break up the cross-examination of this witness.
No.
And again, you know, as I sit here and listen to this, I could have sworn this was a murder case.
Oh, for fuck's
For
sake,
2
Poot.
hours now, we haven't heard the word murder once. And not criticizing his strategy.
You are
obviously
exactly criticizing
denigrating
his strategy.
character is what this is about, but really not relevant to the issue of whether he killed him.
Credibility is an issue as relates to all witnesses in every case. The world adjourned until 9:30 tomorrow morning.
I am just. All right.
Right. We're done with day 23. Pooty Poot is trying it. He's got to try it. Here's the thing. I agree with him. In part, we have not heard a lot about murder, but you cannot have a prosecutor break up his cross-examination. It's absolutely appalling. They could have brought those other witnesses before Alec, and they are trying it, and it is not going to work. It's just not going to work. All right, we're going to do a bit of a summary of today. Don't forget to go subscribe. We are on the road to 700,000. I saw a ton of you subscribe. We are rounding past 697,300, 400. So y'all are welcome to go do that. Woo! I guess this is what, all right. This is where we're at. We're done for the day. We're done for the day. But here's the thing. Poot was in charge of his own scheduling. And you know what he could have done? Here's what he could have done. He could have put those experts on before. But did he do that? No. No, he sure didn't. No, he sure did not. And that is on him. Let's do a quick summary. And then we will get back to the fact that, well, Creighton said his cross was going to be 3 to 4 more hours and did exactly what I advised. Your Honor, I'm real bad at estimating that. I don't know. 3 hours, 4 hours. The judge was like, how long is it going to be? 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours? And then after Poot didn't get his way with the judge, which wasn't going to happen, he starts criticizing. He's like, well, this is a murder trial, and I haven't heard the word murder once. No, they're going over his credibility, and they're going to continue going over his credibility. And they have 99 other indictments against him. They're going to go over those too. He's on the stand. They're going to go over all of it. They're going to go over what happened in the boat case. He has painted himself to this jury through defense counsel as a loving and devoted father. Every game, coached the baseball teams. He was a family of respect in the community. He has a beautiful wife who he loved dearly, a beautiful son who he loved dearly. But there's another side. He cared for his clients and stole from them without apology. He thought he was above the law and acted that way. They've attacked SLED's investigation. I have too, a little bit, to be totally honest. And they are trying to show why SLED might have behaved the way that they did. He was rolling around at the hospital after the boat crash with his badge hanging out of his pocket. That is not an accidental act in any way, shape, or form. He said, oh, maybe I put it in my pocket. When you go to put your badge that's in a wallet case in a pocket, something I actually have personal experience with, you don't put the flappy side necessarily first. You generally put the end side where the binding is in first. There's no way it can flap open. But even if you put the other side in, you hold it together and just put it in your pocket. It's not hard. It would be much harder to have the badge part flopped out of the pocket that's heavier and have it not fall on the floor. So they were going through that at length to explain SLED's behavior. He had police lights installed in the vehicle his law firm paid for. So this behavior of above the law doesn't jive necessarily with his testimony that he was afraid of SLED. And he lied to them because he was afraid of them. He lied to them because he thought that they wouldn't do shit about it. Does that mean that he's going to be found guilty of this? No, it doesn't. Does that mean that the jury will believe he's a murderer? No, it doesn't. Do I think Alec has held up well on cross-examination? Yes, for the most part. He has been very open, or seemingly very open, about all the people he lied to, all the people he stole from. And he's looked at the jury and said, I lied, I stole, I did things I shouldn't have done, but I did not kill my wife and son. And there will be jurors, and there are probably some of you in the chat, which is, again, everyone's entitled to their opinion, whatever it is, that will think, yeah, he's a liar and a thief. He thinks he's above the law. But I still don't know if he killed his wife and son. And I still don't know if the state has proven that to me, that he's the one that did it. And that's fair. The only thing he could do is sit down and be very upfront about all his bad deeds and then deny the murders. And that's what he's doing. And I think generally he's done that pretty calmly. So there are still going to be those who are like, there's plenty of doubt in this case. There are plenty of questions in this case. And there are going to be those who are like, but he could lie to anyone about anything. And these were family guns. And was he trying to convince Shelley to lie? Was he trying to convince Blanca to lie? And why are you convincing other people to lie? Even if you're lying to the police, which I think most of the jurors are going to be like, it's a wash. Even if you're lying to the police, why try to convince Blanca to lie? Why try to convince Shelley to lie? But then again, who took Maggie's cell phone? Because the cell phones aren't having steps at the same time. This is not an easy case. This is not a clear case at all. I don't think that it is. I don't think this is a clear and simple case. And I still don't think we know all of what happened. So I saw the chat. Lori in CT said, why didn't he talk about Gloria Satterfield? We're not there yet. They're not to Gloria Satterfield yet. They'll get there. They're not, the prosecution's not there yet. This is a hard case. This is not an easy case for the jury. So when we're going through the cross-examination, I've seen some being like, Emily, you're feeling biased on this one. No, I fucking hate the things that Alec Murdaugh has done, but I still don't know where I'm at with if they've proven he committed these murders. But I am outraged at the way he treated the badge. I am outraged at the way he treated his clients. I am outraged that he has put his family and his law firm through that. You saw the pain on his law partners because he tore down a 100-year legacy. It's disgusting. He has tarnished the profession, and he has hurt those most vulnerable, his clients of catastrophic injury, the people who trusted him the most. I absolutely think that he was trying to persuade kids in the boat crash while they were still searching for Mallory Beach in the water in the dark. And it's horrifying. But I am not convinced that this jury's going to convict him of murder. So yes, I hate a lot of his behavior because it is appalling and reprehensible. And I get fired the fuck up about it. But I still don't know where we are in this murder case. And I feel in my gut that there is a piece of this case that is missing, a big piece of this case that is missing. And I imagine a lot of you feel that way too. There is something in this case that is missing. But Alec didn't show a lot of embarrassment. He didn't show a lot of shame on the stand. And I don't know. I think we're going to end up with those on the jury who are like, fuck this dude, he's a murderer, and he lied and he did all the rest of it. And he can hurt those closest to him without even blinking. And there's going to be those on the jury that is like, fuck this guy. He has lied and stolen and hurt his clients and tore down his family legacy. But he is not a murderer. And if he is, they haven't proven it to me. And that's where I think this jury's going to have a very hard time coming to a decision, because I don't think it's an easy case. I don't think it's an easy case. I don't think it's an easy case with the timeline. I don't think it's an easy case with the phones. I don't. Beyond a reasonable doubt is a heavy burden for the state in a case where there are questions. And the jurors who take the pieces of evidence towards guilt are going to take the pieces of evidence towards guilt and be like, these are the pieces of evidence towards guilt. But there are going to be other jurors that say, these are the pieces of evidence that go towards not guilt. And I think there's going to be a lot of conversation in this jury room. But I think him testifying might wash all that away. And they're going to look at him and say, no, I don't believe him. I don't believe him. I don't believe him at all. Or I do believe him. He seems credible. We'll see. That's how I feel about it. I think one of the most telling things, and I want to go back and take a look at it, while they were talking about his ability to lie with ease to his clients, remember he was called cunning by his law partners, he talked about not remembering the specifics. And I think the prosecution's going to argue, oh, you don't remember the specifics of doing these horrific things to your clients, though words, not guns. And arguing that if he didn't remember those specifics, of course he's not going to remember the specifics of the murder. It doesn't mean he didn't do it. He doesn't remember the specifics of the other crimes he has committed either. And then he did say, I did them this way. I hurt the people I care about most. And so I want to go back and look at his languaging with, I did them this way. It's very interesting to me because there's so much argument about they did them so bad or I did them so bad. And clearly the languaging is, I did them this way. That's real close for me to I did them so bad. And I don't know if the prosecution caught it. We did, because we're law nerds. And I get to watch from home in my fuzzy slippers and have all dressed chips for lunch. Cheers. We get to do the law nerd things. All right, law nerds, have you tried to break my website again? Please do. LawNerdAlert.com. I'll send you all the links for tomorrow and keep you in the loop on the trial. We do not sell your email addresses. We do keep them securely. We will not blow up your inbox. We will let you know what the schedule is for the week and give you a roundup at the end of the week and let you know when the quick bits are up. With that, I'm going to answer some of your questions. You've also gone a long way towards this road to 700K. And I very much appreciate it. So law nerds, look at you. You've done the things. I appreciate you doing the things. Let's answer some questions, shall we? I've got questions. I mean, this defendant misled and lied, but what else? What else? There's a piece of this case missing, and I think there's going to be jurors who feel the same way. Do you feel? Do we still have a poll up? Let's end our poll. Let's see. Does the testimony about the badge make Sled's behavior make more sense now? 78% of you said yes. Let's put up another Let's put up another poll, shall we? Here's what we're going to put up on our next poll. Oh, I had it and then I lost it. What was I saying? I was saying something. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. What was I saying? It wasn't about whether you're going to go break LawNerdAlert.com. That's not what it was about. I was saying something else. What else was I saying? I don't remember. Oh, big piece missing. Thank you, chat. Thank you, chat. I see it. I see it. James Carson, yours is the comment that I saw. Thank you. All of you that are saying missing pieces. Yes. Chat. Here's the question. Do you still feel like there is a large missing piece of this case that we don't know? Yes or no? Yes, no. Yes, no. I don't care. Let's do those things. Yes, no, and I don't care. We'll put up the poll. I think and that is going to be hard for a jury if they feel like there is something beyond their grasp, something beyond the testimony that they can't put their finger on. It's an uneasy feeling. And I don't know if we're going to get answers to it. Y'all can make this ticker go up much faster than this. Look at how slow it's going. It's so sad. We're going to put that slow, sad ticker down at the bottom and answer some of your questions. We'll bring it back. We'll bring it back up soon. Because if you go subscribe, it'll actually zoom faster. Let's get to some questions, shall we? It's time to fack around. Almost there. One of you is going to subscribe. There you go. And hit the button. Thank you. I appreciate it. So let us continue on. We're going to take this down and get to your questions and comments. Sean B said, yes, big question. Who killed them? And that's fair. The truth of the matter is missing. It feels like there is a big piece missing. It is. Way too far into the weeds on the financial. I think that's very fair. The music sounds like the BBC music a long time ago. I think it does too. And I enjoy it. Oh my God. I remember this countdown when we were heading for 100K. I know it makes me all kind of weird and nervous, and it makes me weird and nervous to put it up. It's like, I don't know. It makes me weird and nervous, but also I like you guys getting to be involved. And now you can see that you are involved. Being a law nerd makes a difference. And I forget where I'm going to be tonight. Miguelina, can you remind me where I'm going to be tonight so I can tell the law nerds where I'm going to be tonight? Because I would appreciate that. I don't remember. I'm going to try to get to questions, as many as we can. And then I've got to take a break, rest the voice, because we're going to, I don't know where, I think News Nation tonight. I've got to double check. Have they proven family guns? Some say yes, some say no. Some say yes, some say no. So it depends. So I think it's clear that they're family guns, but there is some controversy about whether they're family guns. So with that, I don't know. If you don't dispute you stole, why do you keep calling it a loan? Griffin T asking the real question. It is. Why do you keep calling it a loan? You were just borrowing the money you weren't allowed to. Steph sells stuff by the seashore. Says new subscriber, excellent commentary. Thank you. I was a trial lawyer for over 10 years, and I've been an attorney over 17 years. And I've been covering this case for 975 years. Did the judge just tell Poot to F off? The judge just told Poot to stop. It was like, just stop it. Just stop it. Thank you, Reiki Maru. I appreciate it. I am very tired. This case has lasted 100 years longer than I thought it would. Can he ask Alec if Maggie knew he was stealing? It's a tricky question because he has nothing. You don't ask defendants questions that if they lie, you can't prove that they've lied. So you can't prove Maggie's state of mind with him. It also is speculative. I think proving what Maggie told her sister is more powerful, and they did that. So, and I think that's more powerful. I feel like AM's reactions are exactly why Creighton was beating a dead horse. He wanted to break down the affable good old boy and show a peak to the temper tantrum, uncaring of his victims. I think we definitely got some frustration through, but I really do think Alec's demeanor stood up pretty well on cross. Do you think Alec was there and had help? I don't know. Cousin Eddie is a huge missing part of this case. It feels like it. Cousin Eddie got over $1 million in checks from Fake Forge, and we've heard nothing from him. And maybe that's what comes in the rebuttal, and we see. Curious if they checked the dog's GPS collars, it would show the time they were put in the pens if that's when they were shut off and removed. I don't know if anybody did, and I don't know if the dogs had the collars on them, but yes, the guns and clothes are buried with Alec Murdaugh's dad. I don't know that for sure. I've seen a lot of speculation on that. I don't think anyone knows that for sure. Lots of speculation. Just me, Nicole said, if found not guilty, will case be a cold case forever, or will they reopen it to search for suspects? I don't know. If he is acquitted, I don't know how much energy they continue to put into this case. I don't know. Unless something changes or something comes up. Melanie Nix said, I'm convinced he was involved in some way, but one of two. And I think a lot of people are he can't not be involved, but does that prove that he pulled the trigger? But what is the motive? No life insurance. It doesn't add up. He's a bad person, but a family murderer? Question mark. I think there's a very, very large portion of people that feel the exact same way. Question, what does him saying he stole money do to the financial trials? Oh, the financial trials aren't going to be trials after this trial. No matter what happens on this, I think they're going to work out plea deals on all the financial cases. Pooch shouldn't have pointed a gun at Creighton and then asked for favors. Tough toenails. That's fair. I wish Creighton would have said it right. Your Honor, we need to interrupt the middle of cross. Your Honor, I'm not interrupting the middle of cross. And he pointed a gun at us. Just bring it up all the time. Bring it up all the time. So he said it was tempting. And Creighton wouldn't that have been funny? Your Honor, we've got 2 experts. We flew them in. It's very expensive for us. Creighton, wouldn't it have been great at the end of a cross-examination? There's no way this is going to happen. For Creighton to just be like, tempting. No. Would have been fucking hilarious. But at the end of a cross-examination like that, when you're still in the middle, your brain is going a million miles a minute and you cannot process the snark quite that way. So there's that. Where did you get that beautiful bookshelf lighting? They are hue light strips inside of my IKEA bookshelves. Emily, in your opinion, could the missing piece be where he spent all the money he stole? Maybe. Couldn't have possibly spent all the money on drugs? I don't know. But maybe. I don't know what the missing piece is. I have suspicions, but I'm not voicing those suspicions out loud. This is desperate by the prosecutor. That was from at 4:30 today. I think he could have moved on and he was not going to. But the longer you stay on the questioning, you get to things like, I did him this way. And when you get to things like, I did him this way, you get to those little pieces of testimony that give you flashes of who a defendant is. So the cross-examination of a defendant should be the longest cross-examination in a case. You just keep asking them questions until you get what you need, and then you sit the fuck down immediately. It's official. Creighton Waters all by himself is going to cause Alec to walk on this. Alec is calm, cool, and collected. He is calm, cool, and collected. But, Misty, I think that goes both ways. Alec is calm, cool, and collected when being confronted about all of the things he did. So why would he be so rattled about it on June 7th when confronted by Jeannie Seckinger? And I think there's a real good argument that he wasn't rattled by Jeannie Seckinger because he had always gotten away with it in the past, and he knew he would get away with it, and he thought his buddy, Chris Wilson, was never going to drop a dime on him by opening up his books. He thought Chris Wilson was going to cover for him. But it goes the other way, too. How can he talk about such horrible things so calmly? It depends. And I think that will go to where the jurors' minds are already. Do you think the prosecution wants him to get angry and show how he can get? Yes. And I think we've seen snippets of that. I think they want to get those little slips. I think he needs to go over the housekeeper case too. It shows the type of person. I think they will absolutely talk about Gloria Satterfield. I think they can't ignore it. Congrats, Creighton. You got beyond a reasonable doubt. Wrong case though. Amanda, fair point. We know it's a financial crime case. We know it's a financial crime case within a murder trial. It's donate versus pledge. Yes, he's like loaned versus stole. We're there. He's like, yeah, he loaned it to me. You can't loan things out of your client account, and you can't loan things out of a conservatorship account. You can't loan things out of a trust account like that. Why is he not asking about the murders? He's going to do it tomorrow. If I'm on a jury, I've heard enough of the financials already. I get it. He's a thief. Don't we want to know about the murders? That is going to be the last thing he asks about. So he's going to get through all the other stuff until he gets to the murders. Heather said, yes, his clear and honest approach works with me. And Alec has not backed away from the difficult answers, but he has cut out of the answers and kind of played word games with some of them, but it hasn't been egregiously evasive. There's been, I don't know if I'm writing it off to evasion or to lawyer specificness. I'm not sure where I sit on that yet. I'm going to have to think about it because some of it I'm like, that's a little picky with the words. But again, lawyers are going to be picky with the words. So, let's see. Jill J said, shouldn't it swing both ways? Without some sort of discouragement, I think influence / the badge would have had Elios buttoning down the crime scene and dotting all I's and crossing T's, not everyone traipsing through the property. I think there's an argument for that. That's the argument the defense is absolutely going to make is, wouldn't they have had more respect for him and want to find who killed his family? But then again, I don't think they were going to tell him no. And Alex said he was walking all through back and forth to both bodies. There were no footprints seemingly of him, no bloody footprints seemingly of him. But then again, it was muddy. So I don't know. I don't know. Where's the money? Don't know. Where's the money? Don't know. I imagine it's not within the U.S. I thought Paul was the nickname Miss Gloria called Paul. I don't remember. I don't remember. I know. Yeah, I don't remember, truly. Oh, what will Jim and Poot say to Alec about his cross so far? That he stayed calm and just keep your answers short and only answer what is asked. And if you don't understand something, ask him to rephrase. That's it. Can you rephrase that? Can you rephrase that? That's why. Hey, y'all, thanks. Look at you, law nerds. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Admitting lying, when you know you, let's see. Admitting lying on when you know they've got you banged to rights shows me you'll use the illusion of honesty to manipulate. And some might agree with that on the jury as well. That, oh, well, there's not much he can do. I mean, he's seen all the documents. What is he going to do on the stand? He can't really back away from it. He's seen it. Might be his best cross, but it's still not very good. Witnesses killing him. Kyle, that is fair. Heather, just ask him about the trooper he stole from and ask him so lying to law enforcement wasn't an issue for you. That's true too, because one of the victims was a state trooper. Can't believe you didn't comment on Poot's face regarding the lights. I didn't see it. I was taking notes and I was lost in my own world of disbelief. There are things that shouldn't surprise me anymore in this case, and I am still surprised. Installing lights in his car, law enforcement lights in his car, rolling around with his badge on the front and a gun. He's like, I didn't consider myself law enforcement. You didn't? If found not guilty, would he get a bond on the other charges? He has a $7 million bond. They could move for that bond to be reduced, but I don't think it's going to happen. He's only saying it now because he's on trial and the jury might feel the same way. He did not stop stealing from clients until he was confronted. So there's that. Missy W says the audacity of the rush to prosecution. Yeah, right. I think they rushed to find anyone but Alec. Even if AM lied about everything, Sud's case is still garbage and there's a ton of reasonable doubt. Consider Thesaurus said, this is, quote, just what I need. Check out Creighton's Sole Purpose Band. He plays lead guitar. What? Creighton's in a band. So many lawyers are in bands. Creighton's in a band. Waters versus AM. It did worth waiting. To see Creighton's versus AM, it did worth waiting, or was worth waiting. 21 days. Yeah, we've definitely waited days and days and days. I'm going to so read this John Grisham novel. Same. Hey, John Grisham, y'all, law nerds. Crazy idea. Let me know. I need to know in the chat. Do we just start lobbying John Grisham now for me to get to voice the audible book of whatever story this is going to be? Because I want to do it so bad. I want to read it so bad so I can be like, Creighton! Do we just make that happen now? I want to read the audiobook. I want to read the audiobook. I want to read the audiobook. Whenever this is released, I want to read the audiobook for it. The chat's like, we're here for it. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. Let me see where I am supposed to be tonight. Nowhere tonight, 2 tomorrow. Perfect. I get so confused. All right. I am free for the night, which means I get to go work on Quick Bets. How many trials is this now? 4, 5, 17. We're in 17 trials. 17 trials. He obviously hasn't watched the Netflix show. Who? Alec? No, I don't think Alec gets it in custody. We definitely switched to the blue lights, and then at some point we switched to the red lights, and now it's time to switch to where should we go? Where should we go from here? Should we go back to blue? How about Arctic blue? There we go. I'll let the chat vote on the lights tomorrow at some point. Everyone is so focused on everything else, but the most important thing is these murders. If I'm in the jury, I'm annoyed and tired. I am Cash. I bet you this jury is so tired. They've heard so much about the financial crimes, but the prosecution didn't know if Alec was going to testify, so the prosecution had to put on all the other stuff because they didn't know if they'd get to ask him about it. And now they're like, oh, Creighton can't help himself. And they're going to keep him on there. Please explain why this is relevant to the murders. Well, right now, they're going through how easily Alec can sit and lie. So it's how easily he can sit and lie is a big part of this. And that's a big part of why they were going through all of it. Waters' use of uncomfortable silence is working masterfully. It's the first time he's done it. It's the first time he's done it. The chat said pink lights for Mallory. It is sadly the anniversary of Mallory Beach's death. We can do pink lights. It's just an odd coincidence that we're here. So it was odd in Depp v. Heard too, the date coincidences. Angels lie to keep control, said Emily. You have blue lights and a badge. Well, no lights on the car, and the badge is now in loose sight. But do you have cuffs? Also, yes. They aren't used to arrest people, though. But you have to come to the members only live for conversations about that. We have books that we read. Jim and Poot not having a good time. I think Jim and Poot knew this is exactly what was going to happen. And I also think Jim and Poot didn't want to make Creighton's day. If I'm Poot, I don't want to give Creighton the thing he wants most in life. And the thing Creighton wants most in life is to get to question Alec Murdaugh. Creighton has been focused solely on Alec. He's brought all of these indictments. All he wants to do is cross-examine Alec. And so if I'm Poot, all I want to do is deny him that chance and protect my client and deny him that chance and protect my client. Octonation said, I'm impressed with myself. I fixed lawnerdalert.com. Thank you, Octonation. Have they broken it again yet, though? That's the question. Have the Lawners broken it yet again? Oh, we're zooming. Thank you for the zooms on where we're at. I'm just keeping you guys in the loop. Did y'all already watch the Netflix docu? Nope. Dropped in Germany last night. It's impossible to believe him on anything now. This is why I think, why they dropped it, but also this is why the jury shouldn't be watching it. Apparently you can line out to, I am not reading that properly, I don't think. What's missing is the incomplete investigation, the clothes, the guns. Yeah, there's a lot, right? The clothes and the guns are definitely missing, and they're going to have to argue those voids. Jennifer said, AM felt untouchable. I don't see his world crashing down until after the murders. I see that because that's when it got bad, is after the murders. Before the murders, I still think he thought everybody was going to cover for him, which is not what the state's theory of the case is. Sonia said, I feel like the missing piece is the immediate trigger for the murders. The financials is a part of it, but not feeling so much pressure on that day because he didn't think Chris Wilson would ever give Jeannie Seckinger that information. Ace said, can I get a shout out for my birthday today? Ace, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
This case is wild. It really, really is. It really, really is. Paige Pierce said, if I was accused of murder, I would prefer a legally trained judge over an emotional jury. If you're ever charged with a crime, there are times that you can ask for a bench trial, but the state doesn't always have to agree. Humans are definitely emotional. Jill J said, if he didn't discourage an investigation, shouldn't his relationship and badge have resulted in a hardcore buttoned up? Oh, we talked about that. I think it's odd, isn't it? Tina said, it feels like something straight out of Yellowstone. Drug dealer activity in the background, mobster stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of allusions to a lot of stuff going all the way back to his granddad's death on the train tracks. There's just so much. Kiki said, doesn't Alec look like he's lost all the color in his face? Yep, he did. at multiple times during this cross-examination. At one point, his lips went kind of white too. It was wild. So with all of that, chat, I will be back here tomorrow. It is 6 o'clock in the East, 5 o'clock here. We've got a lot that's been going on. We have over 7,000 of you signed up. It's great. 7,670 of you signed up on Law Nerd Alert. We got 697,672 of you here on the YouTube. We're just all in the 6s and 7s right now. Chat, I have had such a great conversation with you today. I will see you tomorrow as we resume the cross-examination of Alec Murdaugh. I will be back at what time am I back? 8:25-ish. Central. We'll be back before court's end at 8:25 Central. We will give you a roundup of the week. If you are, not sick of the sound of my voice yet and you haven't listened to this week's podcast, if you need a palate cleanser, the Idaho quadruple homicide case has a side of defamation going on. The TikTok creator is countersuing the Idaho professor that she accused of murder for defamation, and she's representing herself. And I break all of that down in this week's Emily Show. I'm going to be working on quick bits for y'all. And with that, it is time to say goodbye and good night. A huge thank you to the mods and a thank you to you law nerds for being the greatest community on the internet. I appreciate you. The mods appreciate you. I appreciate the mods. You appreciate the mods. And it's just hugs to all. Thank you for breaking the website 4 times. I think we finally got it fixed. And it's time to go. Bye. You can find all the Law Nerd goodies at lawnerdshop.com. Connect with me on social media at the Emily D. Baker. And don't forget to check out my podcasts, The Emily Show, and the new podcast, Quick Bits, summarizing everything I talk about on my Tuesday and Thursday live streams. When you only have time for just the quick bits.